remove. Let's see. All right, folks. I hold on a second. I was banned at X today for 6 days for telling. Well, good evening, everybody. I did get blocked on X today, not banned. I got suspended for telling a congressman to go cut his cock off. It's legal, and he'd be doing us all a favor, especially children. Apparently, they didn't like me saying that, so they suspended me for 6 days. What up, Steve? What up? What up? What up? So, usually the big calling that I have over there on X has been interrupted temporarily because well, Adam Schiff was one of them. I've said it to a bunch of them. They're a bunch of filthy bastards. And, you know, I am one of them people that just use plain English and call you a filthy bastard that should cut his dick off and move on with your life. Leave us all alone. Nonetheless, folks, as you can see the title, Brian Kohberger is guilty. He's guilty. Trump is killing it, that's for sure, in Idaho 4. Trump is definitely killing it. Boy, is he shaking up Washington, D.C. I wish he would have done all of this in his first term, but you can't change what's been, and you could just move forward to what you've got. And Grant's like, you offended someone. I don't even know how that's possible. So in lieu of the fact that Cletus, I haven't talked to him in a few days, and I've gave him the traditional heads up that the show would be on the air tonight, he himself has not responded. So we are going to go to a traditional or maybe a new traditional call-in fucking let me see, present right, settings, present screen share. I got to connect us to the voice and then get it down so people don't see it. Let's see, where else can we get and we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want that. All right. We want to hide it so that anybody calls in at 585-454-9932. I guess Daniel got attacked by a dog. That poor dog. You got to wonder what happened. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure what happened, but I'm hearing that the drunk turkey got attacked by a dog. And it wouldn't be unusual for me to know dogs to hunt turkeys. So I don't know what the chaos or commotion is all about Daniel's arm. Apparently he was attacked by a dog. That's the latest that I've heard, and you know, my condolences to the dog. I mean, it's like getting a mouthful of shit, you know, especially if Daniel was talking at the time the dog bit him. Ew. Can you imagine that poor dog? But you know, in other news tonight, we got Brian Kohberger is guilty. But does anybody know? Has anybody heard of? Oh, come on now with this noise. Somebody called Just the Facts. Does anybody know a stream Just the Facts? His own dog wanted some turkey. Yeah, but it would probably be chicken turkey, knowing Daniel, the cheap bastard. But he's definitely out there asking for money too, that's just epic. You need to PayPal me some money. What is it with these fucking broke creators? They're creating poverty for themselves, it sounds like, but you know, it is what it is. What up there, Grant? What up, Steve? Frosty the Phantom? Michelli, what's going on? We're not going to have as many people across the globe tonight as a result of my temporary removal from X for telling male congressmen of the Democratic persuasion to cut off their cock. It's a legal thing. It isn't. I don't see how anybody can consider that a violent statement or even I don't even get it. How is that violent when it's legal to get your dick cut off? I don't know. I didn't say to them to cause any bodily harm or removal of their own life by any means. Just cut off your dick. It's legal. So I don't know how that would be what they consider, violent comments or something. If it's a violent comment, then why are we letting people cut off their dick in real life? I'm not so sure. I just can't wrap my head around it. But, offended they were and offended they are. And they all cried to They all had to credit to the Z, which I think X is still infected with a lot of bad algorithms. What up, True Seeker? True Seeker. So yeah, so there's this person out here that streams. Does anybody know? And I'm wondering if this person was in my chat room the other day, and they were talking some shit about somebody walking with a dog or something. And then I was like, take that shit out of here. I didn't want to hear that noise. Did you see the video of somebody walking with a dog? I've seen a lot of videos of people walking with dogs. So yeah, I didn't want to have any. I don't see that in any of the proceedings at this point. But yeah, sure. And they took offense that I refused to take in the propaganda of videos that are not part of the actual prosecution. And who knows? Maybe one day they'll turn up in the prosecution side of things. I can't say it for sure. I really don't know. But I did find this stream called Just the Facts. Is anybody familiar with the stream Just the Facts? As a matter of fact, maybe I should give all credit to this person, paste their link. I don't know who they are. Yeah, the dog thought, shut the fuck up. There's a link to the person's stream, Just the Facts. And the reason I like this particular little, I've never listened to this person before. I don't even think I've heard of this person. Kara Williams, that's Kara Wills. I want to thank Kara Wills. I'm going to borrow some of the stuff inside of your stream and play it across this stream because there's some points in there that are made that are made pretty well. And so hello to everyone on Roku. What up there? Nothing half-assed. And yeah, so I'll mention the person's name, Carol. Or is it Kara? Kara, C-A-R-A, Kara Willis, Just the Facts. Nice little clip she put together. It's about a half hour. We're not going to listen to the entire clip, but we are going to take some pieces out of it. And don't forget, you can call in 585-454-9932. I am not sure if I can present her clip while I have the phone lines open. So I think what I'm going to do is get rid of the phone line for now and remind people of who the queen of the 5.63 billion morons are. Congratulations, Carl. And stop the screen share there, and then present hers, Just the Facts. And we'll see what some of the stuff she put some stuff up here that's kind of decent. Open up the volume. And let's see if we
We'll look at something else, some more facts. Right.
Just the facts.
An interview they had where the person that was interviewed said that she heard things and saw things within her house. But what is written in the probable cause affidavit is seriously lacking in detail. It's wrong and it's false in many places. The way the affidavit reads, it says this person stated she went to sleep on the second floor. She was awoken at 4 by what she stated sounded like one of the victims playing with the dog, which was on the 3rd floor. A short time later, she thought she heard one of the victims say something. That caveat, she thought she heard, is a problem. That's not at all what was said. This person was interviewed shortly after 911 was called in the afternoon of November 13th, 2022. And she was sure, I'm at Defendant's Exhibit 8A, page.
Now remember, guys, words are important. Body language is very important.
Yeah.
But
get back to the info.
Most
please.
Importantly are the reactions, okay?
Yeah.
So not just the judge and prosecution, defense, not just the reaction
Through 10.
Watch it again if you need to.
281, lines 4 through 10, when this witness was sure that she heard this particular victim go down the stairs, go up the stairs, and then come running back down the stairs.
So let's break it down just a little bit.
Uh-oh.
In the probable cause to arrest Brian, they put a lot of maybes.
All right, I'll sum it up quicker instead of all of this. The probable cause affidavit, they made it sound as if there's no doubt about her seeing someone walking towards her, clad in black, with a mask on and bushy eyebrows, walking towards her and then heading towards the sliding glass door. That's what's in the PCA. And there's that we all know. That is as close as I'm going to get with memory, but I think that's pretty spot on. But let's jump ahead to some of the stuff she puts in here from the court hearing, which is what I've really been enticed by, because it really sums up how fucked up from the floor up these cops are over here.
Is not what's contained in this affidavit at all. That is repeated during this same interview a couple of different times at page 287. It's also repeated in a subsequent interview that same day. This is Defendant's Exhibit 8B. That's at page 313 and again at 320. And I've got one more of these where this is repeated. It's repeated again in D8C as well. That is important because that's misleading to the judge. That waters down what was said, and that matters in the probable cause affidavit, because the officers, when they wrote this, knew that wasn't the case. They knew this particular person that DM said was upright and running down the stairs, that's not what happened. That person was killed in the bed and never left the bed. And so the officers water that down because they know that fact is wrong, but they don't tell the magistrate that. They also don't tell the magistrate that this witness has claimed memory problems, that this witness has claimed that she's not sure what she heard or saw was real, or whether it was at a dream, and that is contained in Defendant's 8C. And that,
Can you see, guys? The police had to leave her statements where she was sure that she saw one of the girls running up and down statements, right?
said that she had too much to drink and couldn't remember. None of that is given to the magistrate. That is information that's withheld. That's credibility of the person telling law enforcement these things. And the magistrate had a right to know that whatever is laid out in here isn't exactly the way it was. That person had credibility issues, and she said things that were just absolutely untrue and couldn't have been true. Law enforcement knew that. That was intentionally withheld from the magistrate. That matters when we're talking about credibility and sets this whole thing into motion.
I want to add to that, and this is why I'm surprised they didn't get this stopped when they went after the indictment. What you serve to a grand jury has to be all the facts that you have, even facts that show that you're wrong, even facts that show the potential suspect is not being the suspect. That's supposed to be given to a grand jury. And sadly, in the United States of America, we, the people, have ignored that. As a matter of fact, most, if not all, almost every single criminal court case that is presented in front of a judge, the judge always offers to enter your plea as not guilty and waive your preliminary hearing. The judge should not be asking or suggesting that a defendant say yes to that. Of course, I'm not guilty, but you should never, ever, ever shortcut the judicial process and not accept and not take the next step, which is a preliminary hearing, because that is the first and only place at that stage of after the arrest where you can question the evidence used to put you in custody. A preliminary hearing is a crucial process in the Constitution and in the justice system itself. and you being the difference between freedom and not freedom. And so the information that she's giving here of Dylan is crucial to have been given not only to the judge that signed the probable cause warrant to arrest, but then when they went outside of that box and then sequestered or impaneled a grand jury, the grand jury must also have been given this data about Dylan. And if they weren't, that's a fucking problem. And here's the thing is your justice system, and even this judge is going to find reasons to act like it's not a problem. And that's why it's our fault. The justice system isn't supposed to work the way it's working, especially in this case. Because of your presumed innocence, it's the judge's job to protect you from government malfeasance, from government overreach. It's not his job to determine whether their probable cause, the DNA, was enough for probable cause. That isn't fair. That isn't right. That's not how it's supposed to work. And we, the American people, do nothing. We sit back like we're a bunch of fucking ineffective losers. That man should be pounded with emails and letters. It matters that both sides of the story were told about Dylan to the judge and to the grand jury. They had to have known all things involved. And when you got a witness that's drunk, a witness that thinks they're dreaming, a witness that can't remember, then that witness is no longer a witness. They're hearsay. And hearsay that's clearly hearsay is not enough to take your freedom away from you. Okay? No, that might be true, but we stand by and let them do this. No, grand jury, that's what you are convinced of. And you're wrong. Nothing half-assed. You're right that that's the way the system works. You're correct that we the people have accepted that. But that is not the reason a grand jury exists. Their job isn't to rubber stamp everything that the prosecution brings to them. But they've gotten away with that for decades because we, the people, have become accustomed to that. We've been brainwashed. They can indict a ham sandwich. That's not funny. That isn't funny. That's not true. A grand jury is supposed to sit and hear all the available collected information. And then the decision has to be based on the grand jurors all agreeing that if this were the actual trial of that crime, they would have voted guilty. That's the standard of a grand jury. And we no longer operate this country on the standard of what it was designed to be. So when I robbed that apartment of guns and I left my fingerprint on the hinges, that's important that the grand jury be aware that this gentleman's fingerprint was on the hinges, and the hinges appear to be the means to which they entered that apartment to steal those guns. Completely accurate statement. However, it's also accurate that the person in question was the maintenance man of that building. And during that week, and even on that very day of the robbery, had been in that building painting the doors, the hinges, the trim, the walls, the ceilings, the baseboards. That was his job on that day. And the grand jury was given that. And I did not get indicted, even though I stole the guns. And I'm not bragging it was wrong what I did. So look, it's fucked up what I did. And I'm not arguing that, oh, look at me, I'm better than the court. I'm pointing out that in the proper operation of a grand jury, everything has to be shown. Right? And that's what Ann Taylor is trying to judge. But Judge Hippler, like other judges and magistrates, they don't give a fuck. And we don't hold them to that give a fuck level. That's where we, the people, are wrong. It's our fault that this stuff is happening. You can't blame the idiots that are in the fucking jobs that they're doing, right? You have to blame us for not trying to hold them to account. You have to blame us for not standing up for what's right, or standing up and figuring out that we're wrong. That's cool too. I mean, let somebody come and tell me that a grand jury doesn't need to hear both sides of the story if the police have it. Someone come and explain to me how that's not supposed to be part of the grand jury. Someone try to explain to me and teach me, because I could be wrong. Teach me why my fingerprint all by itself wasn't enough to indict me. When my fingerprint clearly was on what was used as the point of access. There's no fucking ambiguity in that. The person removed the hinge pins because the door was installed backwards. Go look at your exterior doors, folks. The hinge pins are inside the house. This apartment, the door was put in backwards and the hinge pins were in the hallway. Okay? My fingerprint was on the hinge. How come they didn't just indict me then? And the reason they didn't indict me then was because in this particular instance, the prosecutor told the whole story. I was the maintenance man. My fucking fingerprint is as likely to have been put on the hinge as a result of my work as it is likely to have been put on there because I robbed the place. And because they arrested me and because they didn't find any guns on me, what are you left with? No, it's not. It's supposed to be that the prosecutor is the one that's entrusted to give that information. It's the prosecution's job. That's why I say never waive your probable cause hearing. You know, people think, oh, I'll accept you're not guilty plea, and you go sit in courts or criminal courts. Go sit down in your town, your town courts and your city courts. Go watch. They're always telling the defendant they'll waive their we'll enter a not guilty plea and waive your probable cause hearing. And the lawyers that are representing them, usually public defenders and even paid lawyers, will say, yeah, go ahead, say yes. The whole system is fucked up from the floor up. And the only way to fix that is for people like us to get involved. And like I've said before, I'd be happy to work with people that know how to create web pages, even stupid ones that are just where we can all agree on the information, a basic form like a petition, and start sending these out to these different courts in the Ann Reed case, in this case, and other cases that we come across, right? Where did Salty say? I didn't even see Salty came in. I don't think Ann was talking about any one of the girls running up and down. Yes, she was. She was talking about Dylan Morton's statement. Dylan Morton stated to the police that I think she was referring to Kaylee, ran down the stairs and then up the stairs and then back down the stairs. That's what Dylan Morton said to the police in her statement. There's no ambiguity in that. And the problem with that is down, up, and down. Why was her body found in bed? How can you accept Dylan Morton's statement as credible when both of the victims were found in the bed and there was no apparent movement in or out of the bed ever? They died where they lay. They were killed in the bed, right? That's what the crime scene is indicating. So how can Dylan Mortensen tell the police, I heard Kaylee run down the stairs and up the stairs and back down the stairs again? How could Kaylee have ended up on Dylan's floor and yet been found in the bed stabbed to death? The credibility of Dylan Mortensen is totally trashed, and you're supposed to share that with the probable cause judge. You're supposed to share that with the grand jury. And when prosecutors don't do that, they're in a sense creating their own version of events. That's what she's trying to show here. It's not that complicated.
Now, guys, Anne Taylor is saying to Judge Hippler,
listen to her,
that the reason this all happened was because the police lied when they wrote the affidavit. Anne can say that because she has absolutely all the evidence in front of her, right? The judge also knows that because he would have seen everything that was put forward for this, okay? The police lied, guys. They lied to get Brian Koberger arrested, which meant he's now been in jail for over 2 years. Okay? It's not hard. I don't know how people get this wrong. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean listen to the words. Just listen. Even if you don't want to do anything else, just listen. We're going to watch a little bit more of this, and I'm to half an hour.
Your Honor, the next part of the affidavit talks about what they have determined to be suspect vehicle number 1. And it trails a path of pieced together cameras. But what they don't tell the magistrate is that the camera near the residence, the 1112 King Road camera near 1122 King Road, you can't tell what kind of car it is. They don't tell the magistrate that that's an impossible car, that their expert can't make an identification off that. They don't tell the magistrate that this is pieced together from various other videos throughout the area. That's withheld from the magistrate. That's important information when you tell a magistrate, we found this car doing this thing and we know what it is. It's around this particular area.
I'm sorry, I had my mic on. B&M, there's no evidence that we've seen so far that that's accurate, what you're saying. We don't know. That is not, I suspect that is not why she knows this. It's because if you run down the stairs and up the stairs and then down the stairs, right? That places you on the second floor. How can one of the victims from the third floor be described to be on the second floor? That's how she knows. It's common sense. Where's the last? Then she ran back up the stairs. See, that is not part of Dylan's statement. It never was. And she had 3 interviews at the minimum. And that never changed. So that's a fucking problem. It's not that she has an Apple Watch or she's got some kind of scientific data. Dylan's own words, down the stairs, up the stairs, and down the stairs. Though that particular set of events leaves one of the victims in the third floor on the second floor to be killed. How did she get back up in her bed? How did the knife wounds that she received while in that bed can be, you have to assume they're consistent with the wounds in her body. They're on the bed. There's blood splatter all over the bedroom. Where's all of that from being downstairs? So in other words, Dylan placed one of the dead girls on her floor. And that's just fucking wrong. That can't be possible. It's just common sense why Ann knows that. There is no mention of any Apple Watch or anything else. Brett Payne, I don't know that I heard Brett Payne even talk about this. I don't know how I've never heard anywhere where Brett Payne said, I think that was Anna. He hasn't said that to my knowledge. And if he has, Beckles, if you've got that somewhere, that would be nice to know for a fact. But I don't remember any questioning of him on this. This is the first time we've ever heard the totality of Dylan Mortensen's statements. So, I don't know if he said he thought, I don't know that he said it. It's in his PCA Exhibit A that he thinks it was Zana running up and down the stairs. I don't think I saw anything in the PCA that indicates people running up and down the stairs. If you've got a link to that or you can copy and paste that comment, I would really appreciate that because I'm as fallible as the next guy. Yeah, he thinks it was Zana, ran up the stairs and down the stairs. Okay. Ran down the stairs. Well, how did Zana get upstairs? Zana was found in her bedroom deceased as well. So how did Zana go from being upstairs to downstairs upstairs to down to up, and then up to down? You see? I'd like to see that the wording of that from the PCA. Okay, let me push a little further with what's going on here.
So guys, just more lies, right? Just more
to them and determine the year of the car. And the FBI provides some possibilities after numerous submissions to them. And the court knows this and can read about this. This is going to be in D10. That's in D9. And finally, after several submissions, that's when the FBI IML says I can make a car identification. The issue with that's not disclosed to the magistrate is that car appears one time on one video and not any of the others that they try to say are the path. It's not, let me see if I can say this right. It's not following a consistent trail where the one camera that can identify the car where it appears again. It appears one time, and then what law enforcement did was they took several videos from all over the area and said, well, it's the same car, and we have an identification.
So, guys, more lies. And
So Anne is using the discovery and the information that they used and the way they twisted it to paint a story. And and as I said in the very beginning, before I ever had this stream, before I was even ever on Dago's channel in February 2023, I said that to other people that I know that I tried to get interested in this, that the PCA can't place Koberger at that house. And regardless of what you found in the house, unless you found his DNA samples all over that house, or you found blood samples of him in the crime scene and on other objects in that house, that's a piece of evidence that's just circumstantial. Circumstantially, a knife sheath moves about. A knife sheath, they're based on what they're suggesting, he brought it into the house and left it. Okay, that's what they're telling you, but you can't prove that happened. All you can prove is that Brian Koberger and that knife sheath, Brian Koberger's transfer DNA was somewhere in a location that knife sheath had passed through. That's all you can say. That's the best you can say about the DNA. And then when you go into identifying Brian Koberger with the DNA, that's a whole other shitstorm of facts that just don't make any sense. But let's just accept that that's Brian's DNA in the knife sheath. That cannot place him at the crime scene at any specific time. And because you don't have the murder weapon, you can't determine that the weapon used in these victims solely came from that knife sheath. And the fact that you have 3 other unknown male DNAs in the crime scene means you can't even determine if Brian was the sole perpetrator. And because you can't name him as the sole perpetrator, for all you know, Brian didn't wield that knife at all. Brian may have been the person that was left behind to clean up. You know, there's that statement. I thought I heard someone say, I'm here to help. I mean, there's so many different ways you can interpret it, and that's the problem. What Americans have been snowballed into is what's considered the level of proof. And you're going to put someone in jail for a quadruple homicide. Rightly, we know these young women were killed, but we need solid evidence that the person you're accusing is the one that did it. Proof. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is required. And his car can't be located to that house. As a matter of fact, no car can be connected to this crime. You further exonerate Brian when you do get a hold of his car, his apartment, his workplace, and his parents' home. And you can find no trace evidence of any of the victims being carried out by Brian. So there's no connection. You can't find any trace evidence of any connections to him. Hey, 12, what up? You know, I don't know how they're going to do, but so here's the problem is this whole PCA, folks, is an attempt to paint a picture because the picture's needed to explain the DNA. If this picture that they're painting is completely unverifiable and untrue, then the DNA becomes a mystery DNA, just like the other 3 samples that they didn't identify. That's the quagmire that we're in. But Americans, for whatever reason, we don't want to look at it like that. They got his DNA, game over. We don't care that Othram Lab created they got a sample from a sheath given to them from the Idaho State Police. They then manipulated that sample. Call it amplify, call it whatever you want. The sample they sent the FBI was more than 2 times larger than the sample they started with. That means the evidence has been tampered with. I don't care if you did it in a lab. I don't care what anybody says. Right? It would be an avenue to explore, but Anne need not explore that. She's not here to prove his innocence. She's here to show you that it's the government's job to show this person is guilty based on the preponderance of evidence. And none of their evidence can actually even suggest that he's guilty. Foremost, I hope you all understand. There's a reason why the PCA paints a picture that Brian was at that house between 4 and 4:20 a.m. If DNA was all you need, that story wouldn't have been written at all. They simply would have went to the judge with the DNA. They would not have needed to paint a picture. The reason they need to paint the picture is because DNA, isolated DNA, no matter where it's found in the crime scene, is circumstantial evidence. You need now to build a case to show that that circumstantial evidence arrived and could only arrive during the commission of this crime. To all other exclusions, that's what a burden of reasonable doubt, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. To all other explanations, the only way the DNA could have got there is because we know Brian drove there. How do we know that? This video, that video, right? And if you're not able to do that, then again, that DNA is not a convictable piece of information. I mean, I welcome anybody to come up here on the panel and discuss this, because I think it's important that we all have some kind of understanding as to what probable cause. People have been arguing for years. You don't need to put everything in there. No, you don't need to put everything in there. But I promise you that when they went to indict me for robbing that apartment, they didn't just simply say someone saw me in the hallway. Right? Why didn't they just say that? Someone just saw him in the hallway. How come that wasn't enough? Why was my fingerprint on the hinges that needed to be removed to enter that apartment? Why wasn't that enough to indict me? You really need to understand how the system's supposed to work. And woulda, coulda, shouldas don't have any place in the discussion. We know all we need to know when it comes to that PCA.
Yeah, I think that deserves a bullshit.
Comfortably from that. That's not all. The identification was most comfortably from that FBI agent to be a 2011 to 2013 Elantra. And that's what law enforcement relied on. The court.
So they made up a car, they made up the route the car was traveling. And that's what law enforcement relied on. Just chopping bits of video together and chopping video together of completely different timelines, completely different places, and different cars. And then telling the FBI it was all the same car, guys. Make sure we listen. We found it.
Out that was issued by Moscow Police Department, where they look for a 2011 to 13 Hyundai Elantra, and that's what they're looking for. And they don't tell the magistrate that's what they're looking for. They mislead the magistrate and let the magistrate believe that they have a clear view of this car making this loop, and that's just not what happened. It's pieced together, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Why wouldn't the police tell the magistrate they were looking for a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra? Why wouldn't they tell them?
Just the facts. That's the name of the stream. Carol, what's her name? Carol Willis. I don't know her. Never. I don't think she's ever been in here. But I want people to be clear that she put this together. She did a good job as far as I'm concerned, because she's letting you hear what Ann Taylor's pointing out to the court. And there's no ambiguity. There's no twisting of the information. Yeah, we don't know, Mr. Ralph. That's the thing in here. The one thing we will never do in here is solve this case or even try to solve this case. That's not what we're in here for. What I pay attention to is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We need to see if what the government is showing us is proof that Kohberger did this, and that's the end of our commitment to the case. TikTok and Pavarotti and all these fucking jerk-offs that have solved the case, I wouldn't let them lick my shit. I just wouldn't. It's not our job. That's the job of the government. And our job as citizens is to monitor what our government is doing. And in any criminal case, if you're interested in it, you need to see where the proof came from. Did they follow the procedures? Did they do what they're hired to do? And is what they've done, does that equal guilt? That's it. We're not here to find who did it. We're here to see if he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. Our job as citizens is the proven part. We need to observe whether the proof that they're offering proves. Right? What up there, Heather? Heather, do you know this person? Just the Facts, Carol Willis. Do you know this person? because she did put together a cool little stream. Who the fuck? I'd sound like a complete idiot. I don't even know what you mean. Yeah, but we're not trying to strategize or theorize who committed the crime. That to me is insulting to the victims. There's no way for us to solve that crime. I mean, the likelihood of you using your cell phone and Google, no matter how well orchestrated it is, now how many times you dig into the codes, into the laws, into the specifics, that's great to educate the public. But if you're using that to show how smart you are, so that people believe your theory, then you're just a grifter. You know, that's what I said. These people are fucking
Strange guys, isn't it?
nickels and dimes out here.
These pesky cops. Huh?
Law enforcement in their affidavits talked about this dog barking, and they key some time, and they say this is when something was happening inside this house. We can hear this dog barking, and they use the videotape to get a time off that surveillance tape from the neighborhood, the 1112 King. And so they've got this time, but they also have this video, this trail that they've picked out a time that something probably happened here. And they don't tell the magistrate that this dog that's barking continues.
Look at Mr. Ralph Furley. You're not going to get any attention, Ralph. You'll probably get banned, or one of the moderators, which there's many of them in this channel, will throw you out for the sheer ignorance of your comments. I mean, I'm not even going to hold against you that I fucked your mother, and she sucked in bed, but I fucked her anyway. I had to do it. So really, what is your name, Ralph? Your mother wasn't, I mean, it could have been because she was dead, but I don't remember. She's one of the dead fucks that I fucked. But maybe. It could be. I couldn't hold a finger to Pavarotti. Yeah. My understanding is that woman beater is quite popular with you fucking beta males, right? I'm probably one of the smartest people's streams you'll ever come into. And you might want to just shut the fuck up and listen, right? Because Pavarotti nor anyone else can show you and prove to you who committed this crime. And if you think that that's what these people are doing, then you're a fucking couple of points short of a fucking, I don't even know, a pair. You're got 20 cards in your hand. You can't make a pair. Something wrong with you. You better go sit down, boy.
On long after the car they're interested in has left the area and then abruptly stops. Your Honor, the dog was found the next day inside the house in a bedroom with an open door, where the other bedrooms that contained people that died, their bedroom doors were open, and this dog had not tracked any blood around. The dog had no blood on it whatsoever, but it was just sitting in an open room a day later. The magistrate is not informed about that either.
Guys, if people can't look at the facts of this and understand that a dog left in that condition was then found in the morning, right, with perfectly clean, you know, I mean, what can you say to these people that still believe that's possible? I mean, guys, Murphy knows all, right? If only Murphy could talk, right?
If I find that the IGG was not unconstitutionally obtained, doesn't it just add to the probable cause?
No.
If it were to have been disclosed, it would have simply created more basis to suspect Colbert.
Your Honor, if it had been
I want to say something right now. I wish I could have a conversation with this judge. Ann Taylor's not arguing that the DNA was unconstitutionally obtained. The results were it was unconstitutional. The DNA itself is fair game, 100%. But you lied. You found an identification that you did in a backhanded way. You fucked with the sample. You more than doubled its size. Othram could not find. Idaho couldn't find it in CODIS, and I promise you, Othram could not find it in the legitimate databases that are open to law enforcement searches. Those databases were tested by Othram. And the reason that fat crack smoking fuck Bill Thompson called the FBI was for the FBI to see if they could match this sample. And what the FBI did was they took that sample and they backdoored it into public databases that tell people like you and me that your DNA will not be searched by the police without a warrant. And the FBI did the dirty deed by going through the back door. That's why the FBI didn't save any of their information. That's why the FBI is being considered a tip. That's why the FBI has fucking protections and seals against what they did. The FBI's work was never intended to identify the criminal suspect. It was simply to provide a tip to a potential suspect. And everything the FBI did, and I give them credit for this, everything they did was consistent with using services behind everybody's back to just come up with a name so Idaho could investigate the name. And what the Idaho police did was they took that name, found some things that potentially could have placed Kohberger involved in this crime, and they built a fucking story out of it. That's what's happened here. So I fault the FBI for doing what they did, but they did exactly what Bill Thompson and Othram could not do. They got into my heritage, they got into 23andMe and other places that give you and me protections from law enforcement willy-nilly going through the database. And Ann is arguing that the Fourth Amendment violation is that I have a presumption of privacy, an expectation of privacy in my home. I don't have an expectation of privacy on Facebook, but I certainly have an expectation of privacy at 23andMe because their user agreement tells me that that privacy is protected. This is the argument for the Fourth Amendment. And I'm really pissed off at Judge Hippler. And to some extent, I'm irritated with Ann for not making it that fucking simple. She gets caught up in an argument that's, and I'll play it back a minute, what Judge just said. That is not her fucking argument about the DNA being unconstitutional. It's what they did with the evidence. And then what they did once they got the name that's unconstitutional. They lied to get a warrant. And everything except the DNA. Like I said, I'll accept it as being Kohberger's. I don't want to get into that debate. I'll let Ann do that, but I'm very upset with Ann. And that the judge even would suggest that she's saying that the DNA was unconstitutionally collected or used. It wasn't uncollected. It wasn't collected unconstitutionally. What they did with it once they got it is where the violation of Kohberger's rights started to become violated. And here's the other thing. The only way they got to one of Brian's relatives are in the databases that tell people like you and me that pay for those services that our DNA will remain private and will not be available to law enforcement. If they didn't go in the back door to those databases, they never would have been able to come up with Kohberger's name. That's where Ann's at with it. That's where I am with mine, okay? It's very frustrating that the judge would say something as stupid as that.
It would have simply created more basis to suspect Kohberger.
Your Honor, if it had been disclosed, think about how that would read. We used a process to make an identification. This is a new technology. This is called investigative genealogy, and we identified somebody. We did not keep any of our documentation because even though Department of Justice policy says we need to, we decided not to. Even though it says we can't go into certain databases, we really wanted to figure out who this was, so we just ignored that policy altogether. I don't know how a judge could find that credible. You don't even know how that happened.
Anne is doing an incredible job, guys.
Ann is making in her own way the same points that I'm making, and that it's fucked up from the floor what they did with that sample. And Heather, maybe you don't agree with me, but after they altered that sample, and then Bill Thompson contacted the FBI to have them see if they can identify it, Othram had already gone through, not just CODIS had been used, but databases that are completely open to be searched, that the police have unquestionable access to of a few million users. And those users are also aware that their profiles can be used by law enforcement to identify missing people, criminals, blah, 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 blah. So the databases that the FBI then searched are databases that are exclusively prohibited by user agreements given to me, the end user. I don't give a fuck what the policy at the DOJ is. They can suck my ass. But I have a reasonable expectation to privacy in that database. And Judge Hippler comes back with an argument somewhere in this saying, well, can't those databases be wrong? Or no, the prosecution comes back with the argument. Well, you can't expect privacy on the internet. Your data could be stolen. What? You stupid motherfucker. What you're saying is that the FBI went and stole from them databases. They don't even, these people's arguments are so stupid that I'm surprised that there aren't more Americans that see how stupid they are. Of course, my information could be stolen from Facebook. Facebook doesn't tell me my privacy is protected from law enforcement. Yeah, opted in people. That's exactly what I'm saying, Heather. We agree on that. And it was sent to the FBI because the FBI was willing to go against those user agreements and ignore that. And the reason the FBI said you can't use this DNA in a prosecution is because the FBI went and did what they weren't supposed to do. And the reason the FBI is the protected witness is because that name, Koberger, was a tip. It was a tip generated outside the bounds of what's legal. Right? Yeah, there you go. And had they not searched those databases and violated those agreements that were given to the users of those databases, they never would have identified Brian Koberger. Okay? It was the two that were against the agreement not to access is where they found Brian's name, from what I understand in these hearings. And that's just bullshit that the government would do that. And then they try to hide it. But old fucking Bill Thompson, the crack smoking Santa Claus, he got caught. No, my mom wouldn't have done that. My mom swallowed, you dumb bastard. Sadly, your mother didn't swallow. I know that because when she sucked my dick, Mr. Ralph, she didn't swallow. She caught it all over her face. And the last thing I heard her say as she was grabbing her eye is, it burns, it burns, it burns. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up, Mr. Ralph. It is what it is, though. Did they or did they not do that for other blood samples found at the scene? Apparently, we don't know that they didn't. We don't know that they did, but I say here, can I just say, there's a few good reasons as to why they didn't do that. There's problems all over the place, man. And I hope that they can impanel a jury that's smart enough to see that it's not holding somebody accountable for this crime. That's not, their job is not to do that. Their job is to ensure the evidence that the government provides proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this man did it. And there's so many fucking holes in this case that you could strain your spaghetti in it. Yeah, but here the stars are very upset with Ann, and Ralph's mom's eyes hurt. Cheers, this is getting good. Yeah, I don't know who these people think they're dealing with. You know, I don't even want to fucking, these idiots come in here. And they're all part of that Jeff H. group. He's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty. And these people just don't want to look at facts. They have no, unless the fact favors their point of view. Yeah, how about that? Where's that? Where Vargas gets a knock on her door because she snitched openly. That these databases, there's back doors into them. And who are they to go intimidate a witness? If I were Vargas, I'd be suing the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the town of Idaho. I don't know why she's not doing that. Maybe because it would interrupt her credible work that she's done and continues to do. But my advice to Ms. Vargas is you sued her fucking asses for witness intimidation. I mean, who does Bill Thompson think he is? That proves, there you go. I'm glad you brought that up. That proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Bill Thompson knew the FBI would go places they couldn't go. He knew that up front, or he never would have gotten involved with the FBI that way. That shows an intentional, that's a violation for real. Oh my God. Look at that. We just solved it. Brian Koberger's guilty. But that's what I've been saying.
We're trying to explain what's going on without actually going against the gag order. And she's holding herself back very well from not actually saying what she wants to say. Yeah, it's really interesting, guys. You need to take notice, right?
There is a great big question mark about how that happened. To Your Honor's point, you should find it unconstitutional. If you don't find it unconstitutional, it's a separate analysis. I appreciated being able to talk to the witness about that today, but it's a completely separate analysis. You're looking at integrity. You're looking at what a court can rely on to sign off on an affidavit or a search warrant. If an affidavit is presented to a judge and you know that the rules don't matter, that terms of use of a database don't matter, and that you're going to hide what you do, and that doesn't matter either, there's not a lot to rely on. If law enforcement came to the magistrate and said, we want to go search this house over here, and they said, we really think there's going to be evidence of a crime in there because we've got this confidential informant, and this confidential informant has provided a lead, but we need to tell you that we don't have real reason to trust this confidential informant because they won't tell us how they know that. They gave us a picture, but they won't tell us where they got it from or when they got it or what means they used. They threw away their camera. They threw away all the metadata. They won't tell us anything about that. And by the way, the confidential informant maybe has some integrity issues. A judge is not going to sign off on that. And then if you say, but to support that, I built this false look at a whole investigation here. I'm going to tell you these other things that I know that I had no idea about before my confidential informant was here. And these things don't add up anyway. There is not, in my view, a judge that's going to find probable cause because somebody got stopped by law enforcement. I think it was a seatbelt ticket months before.
The purpose of the submission of that was simply to identify the car that he drove and the fact it didn't have a license plate on the front. It wasn't to suggest it's otherwise connected to the homicide, except to say this is a car of interest and the defendant was found driving it.
Well, let's talk about that license plate for a second, though, because that's not something you can see from the videos. And that was testimony you heard today. You can't see that from the video that the cops relied on here. So that bit about the license plate, that's something a little bit extra that happened after we have this IGG stuff. That wasn't known before.
I just want to say, this is what I mean about a corrupt judicial system. There's no imagery that shows Brian Koberger's car does not have a license plate in the video surveillance that they collected and gave to Ann. The only place you can see that there isn't a license plate is in a motherfucking traffic stop months earlier for a seatbelt ticket. That shows you right there that they took evidence that has nothing to do with this crime and framed it in such a way as to obtain probable cause. There is no proof the cops knew this motherfucker didn't have a front license plate. None. And any of the fucking images and any of the data that they provided the defense for 11/13/2022, the day of the crime. Unbelievable. They had to go back and find out that he was arrested or charged or ticketed, and that's when they noticed no seatbelt or no license plate in the front of his car. That shows you that not only did they not investigate, but they fabricated everything, and they used things that have nothing to do with the crime. They have no imagery to identify a vehicle that doesn't have a front license plate. They do not have that. And so where the fuck did they get that from? And Anna's telling you, they went and they using a seatbelt ticket from months earlier. No, she's not going to. This is all based on factual discovery that she's been given. Yeah. Her voice is a little bit, yeah, difficult. That's why I kind of try to jump over her when I can. Hang on one second. So let's finish up here.
So there was actually no license plate on any video
Okay.
when they were
Repeat what I
piecing
just
all
said.
this stuff together, the different cars in the different places at the different times. When they were doing all that, they didn't have Brian Koberger's car or license plate or anything else. That came later,
Yes.
right? Along with the genealogy from the magic knife sheath, alleged magic knife sheath.
The magic knife
There
sheath.
was no video collected from WSU before. There was no communication with the officers at WSU before. So if before the identification through IgG.
I'm just not tracking why that matters. Go ahead.
He's an idiot then.
It
You're
matters
a fucking idiot.
because this wasn't a real investigation. These are things that are put in there to make it look like an investigation happened, to say, don't look here at this big glaring thing that's missing, this whole piece about why we identified him. Don't look here. We don't want you to look here because this is ugly, this is dirty, and this isn't real. That's precisely why those things are placed in that PC affidavit like that.
You know, I'm going to stop.
So,
this.
guys, there was no investigation until that genealogy was done on that magic alleged knife sheath.
That is cute. Hi, mommy.
When the
I
phone
love
stops
that.
reporting to the network, what direction is the car traveling? And you can know that based on the cell towers, the handoffs from tower to tower as it tracks where a phone's going. The FBI knows how to do this. They chose not to do this. They chose to take a time 7 minutes before it really stopped reporting. And they chose to make a map that showed a direction that that phone wasn't traveling in to create a false narrative for the magistrate to rely on to find probable cause.
And that right there in a nutshell, I think she could do better explaining it. But I think she's lost this judge. This judge is seeing the DNA just like you fucking jerk off guilters out here. See DNA and only DNA. You ignorant fucking never stop sucking your mama's titty pieces of shit. There's so much more to a prosecution than a sample of DNA found. I don't give a fuck where it's found. Like I had said, if someone is shot and killed and you find my gun with my fingerprint on it, that's circumstantial evidence, you fucking idiots. It's fucking insane, bro. How people don't seem to have the faintest fucking clue about what's actually going on here and how their justice system is supposed to work. And they get up on the internet and they want to create streams and all these fucking elaborate fucking stories and all these different criminal codes and and they're solving crimes. Like that fucking TikTok, that drip drop fucking guy needs penicillin. Okay? But the catch-22 with that stupid asshole is he still thinks one of those jacks went to Africa. He fled the country. And that's not what happened. It's been proven that guy didn't leave the country. That was settled 2 years ago. That was discovered that he didn't fucking fly off to Africa. Yet that drip drop just brought it up this week. Jesus fucking Christ, people. The inability for people to think and the inability for people to even have a concern as to whether your government is fucking trying to frame somebody is stunning to me. And I'm not saying this kid didn't do it. And I'm not saying the kid did do it. I give him the presumption of innocence. And now I want to look at the proof that he did this. I need to see that he's proven guilty. And everything that they alleged, every accusation they've made against Brian Koberger is a lie. It's an abject fucking lie. It should not exist. There you go, Candace Morin. I appreciate that. It's a nice succulent way of summing it up, right? And there's just too many people out here that social media has really, maybe you people were just fucked up. Maybe you're the only people that could have got A's in school or something because you were able to have the teacher tell you the answer and then give you a book with all the answers and then you could read it and write it down on a piece of paper, making yourself feel fucking smart, you fucking twits. Unfucking believable. I do the loud hollering too. Yeah, Candace, that was well said. Yeah, you know, I don't even know. I'm exasperated and just engaging on the internet. Just simply because it's almost as if real evidence, real proof means nothing to these people.
Your Honor, I draw the court's attention to D7 and 8. Those are the affidavits from the defense experts. Their CVs are in D28. Once the second AT&T warrant comes, then you end up with warrants for Mr. Koberger's arrest. You end up with warrants for DNA samples to be taken, warrants for the search of his apartment, the search of his car, the search of his parents' house. Those are the warrants that are next implied in that. Here, what's added to that set of affidavits is the paragraph that talks about Mr. Koberger's phone using a tower that provides service to 1122 King on a number of occasions. The PC affidavit says 12. Your Honor needs to take a look at, I believe it is D1B and C. That's an email from Nicholas Balance, and he's talking to the detective in Moscow about the dates that he says this thing happens. And then he puts those dates in his cast draft report and in his cast final report, and they don't match up. There are different dates on those, different times on those. But the really big deal about that is that it's misleading when you say the cell tower that also services this particular location. Moscow has, I think, 2 cell towers that service the town. Those cover places that one shops, places that one eats, places that one gets gas in Moscow. From the records, you can see handoffs, and so you know where a vehicle is going. You can know whether it's stationary or not. You can know whether it's parked, looking at a particular place or not. Based on those records, we also provided the records just so the court would know there's a volume of records. I don't expect the court to decipher those records, but based on those records, they absolutely knew that Mr. Koberger wasn't around that residence, wasn't parked near the residence, didn't stop and have his phone in a stationary position at that residence. They absolutely knew that that's not what was happening, but they put it in there to make a connection that didn't exist. They put it in there so that the judge would think that this was the right person, and they shouldn't have done that. They knew that was incorrect.
And I would like to add on the back of this that, you know, how could one witness see a naked man run in, right? And another witness see somebody clad in black, but not really sure, you know, could have imagined that. Crazy, isn't it? How the tables turn. It's important we stick to the facts, guys, right? Focus on the facts. So, guys, we absolutely know the cast report was a load of old bullshit as well. More of that magic dust. Anyway, guys, we're nearly.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut her off for a minute. She's right. It's all magic dust. It's the most incredible presentation of what's supposed to be factual information. Bro, you can keep on knocking, but you can't come in. I don't know what that means. Let me see here. I want to get up. I want to take that off. There you go. So let me put this up here. Banners. So, folks, you can call in 585-454-9932. And you can have add your comment to this, add your opinion. Keep it 3 to 5 minutes. That would be awesome. But it's perplexing. Now, I brought up, I think Trump is killing it. Is absolutely true. Now that I've heard some of the people in Congress saying that they need to get a lot of this stuff made into law. Like I said, it would be nice to have someone that was web savvy that can help write a petition. I think we need to petition Trump to take all potential oil drilling sites out of the federal land management programs. Turn that land back over to the states. He wants to get rid of the Department of Education, return it to the states. I completely agree with that. People in Texas need to know about oil wells and oil drilling and land management. I'm sorry, but people in New York City don't need to know that. People in New York City need to know things about New York City and what kind of work is done in New York City and what kind of potential jobs are in New York City that they should be trained for, right? Okay, there you go. People in Texas have different requirements. People in California, people in Florida, people in Tennessee, all different areas of the country, all with different specialties, all with different ideas and with all different religious type beliefs. They all need to control their own educational system. Get the federal government the fuck out of there. His attack with Elon Musk against USAID is epically awesome. There's billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars fed from that and laundered and cooked. And there's millions of people that have been enriched by our money that are unaccountable to that money, and you can't hold them accountable because USAID has never been audited, as well as many other agencies, right? Yeah, I'm a New Yorker myself. I don't you mean by are we straight? What the hell is that supposed to mean? But like, are we getting along? Are we on the same page? I guess, yeah. So I think everything that Trump is doing is pro-American. And you see these Democrats, these scum, pedophile-loving, skin-sucking losers out there yelling and screaming that these programs are essential for world peace. There's the people in Africa that money is sent to. It doesn't get to the people that it's sent to represent. We give money to help feed and help put in water and it goes to their governments, or there's some not-for-profit that's run by some American or some European or some Russian. And our USAID sends the money to these fucking organizations. And those organizations gobble it all up. And the guy that had no water, not only does he have no water, but because he didn't get water, he helped create new millionaires on his need for water. Really? That's what American foreign policy, that's what it's been. That's why we're so hated around the world. If Americans really knew what your government was doing under your name of Americans, you would fucking lose your gut. You wouldn't know what to do. You'd be so mad. You'd storm the Capitol. You literally would storm the Capitol. I hope Elon can't be stopped. And I hope at the very least, every single crucial dollar that's stolen from us to enrich criminals is exposed. I want to see the transportation money. I want to see the money USAID is used for worldwide transportation. I want to see that money called out because to me, hang on, we have a call. 126 or 269. Allow. There we go. Turn off your YouTube because you're feeding back. Turn off your YouTube volume. What up? What up? Who this?
It's Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Hey.
What up?
My son heard a bit of you, and he started laughing and saying, "Oh my gosh, I agree with him so much."
Oh, you raised a good kid then.
Yeah.
Tell him not to be offended by my language. That's just the kind of autistic nut job I am.
No, he thought it was hysterical, and he really liked it. So yeah, I agree with the Kara stuff and also the Trump stuff and Elon. I just wanted to say that all these morons that are, protesting against Elon and the Democrats, of course, heading that up is, just again, the witch hunt, brainwash to the Democrats. I wish that they would have somehow just in every forum just a post of all of the nonsensical things that foreign aid was funding,
Oh.
I can't even believe what I've heard. I had no idea, and I'm fairly well educated with regards to the political things, but I was not educated in terms of what this foreign aid was going to, funding the heroin, happy heroin production and transgender operas.
Yeah.
And all of this
$6 million to
stuff.
help $6 million to help promote Egyptian travel.
Oh, Lebanon. Yeah, the Lebanon.
There's billions of dollars spent for everything. Not we as Americans won't benefit from it at all. And if you're only going to like me because I give you, say what?
And that's the taxpayers' money. And these idiots are like, oh, Trump is harming our country and Elon's harming our country. No, they're like helping the taxpayers save money. Our taxpayer money is going towards these things that they won't even tell you what.
Have you asked yourself why is it investigating USAID compromises your private information? Why isn't anybody asking that question? I want to know what USAID has with my fucking personal data. How the fuck did they get it? What are they doing with it? You're telling me Elon's going to steal that? Well, why is he somewhere where it shouldn't be anyway? See, this is what I mean by a lot of our talking heads out there. They sell us this outrage rather than a solution. And then the real question should honestly be, under what fucking insane world is USAID got my Social Security for? Why?
I mean, it's crazy, and I think there's just this weird segment of population. I don't know. Remember when they had all these people protesting and burning and looting, and it's that same segment of the population that is against. Well,
wait till you find out that the non-governmental organizations backed by Soros and other of these tech companies and big business.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait till you realize that money is given to people at $25 an hour to be a protester.
Yeah,
right?
I already knew that. That's exactly.
So you got thousands and thousands of people. Look at poor Kamala. She had to have people bust in from different states to fill up a fucking rally. And who? Right? I mean, the whole Democratic Party is a subversive, anti-American enemy. It's an enemy. It's literally an enemy of the country. And look at Republicans are involved with it too. In my opinion, so is Marco Rubio and John Ratcliffe. Marco Rubio is a real scumbag. I'm surprised Trump I see Marco Rubio right now. Marco Rubio, when I see him talk, Marco Rubio to me looks like a man that was in with the criminals that is now a spokesman for Trump, or he's fucked. A lot of people don't know. Did you know Rubio owned a huge real estate empire? No, most people don't. Did you know that Rubio sold houses of significant money to the dictator, murderous Venezuelan president's family and relatives and cohorts, and that was all taken away from him, but Rubio got to keep the money? Did you know Rubio had to have special security to protect him from them people? Paid for it by the taxpayer? And now Trump made him Secretary of State. My only understanding that I hope is true is he's like the Helsinki victim, right? He's either got to work for Trump and deal with these people and get rid of them and fix it, or he's either going to get killed by them people or he's going to end up getting destroyed over here in America. That guy's a real criminal. I don't understand how people support Rubio. They don't know anything about the guy. Like, you ask anybody if they knew Rubio had a real estate company, and they all universally say, no, I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm surprised you do. That's amazing. You seem to know a lot.
I'm a knowledge consumer in vast quantities, and I have an excellent memory. And that's, I'm on the spectrum, just so you know. I mean, I have Asperger's, so I have an unusual capacity to devour things.
It's amazing to me because of what you talk about in terms of your past and all of the other aspects of the things that you speak of. I've already ascertained that you're some kind of genius.
Well, I don't know if I ever go that far, although I won't disagree with being called a genius. I'm highly intelligent, and I'm not afraid to say that out loud. I'm proud of myself, because I did come from the streets at 14, and I don't have any family, and there are living people that are related to me, but they're not family. And so I have business. I got a great life. I literally have an awesome life, except my garbage company decided to fuck with me, but I'm fixing that. But other than that, I have an awesome life, and I have a lot of free time. I always believed that being a multimillionaire took a back seat to having free time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's 100%.
I ain't giving you 40 hours of my life to work. Not a week. No, maybe a month if you're lucky. I give you 2 hours a day. And I earn a significant income doing that. 2 hours a day, 9 months a year, and I take 3 months off. And what do I do? People say, do you travel? No, I don't need to go to Italy where I can't understand what the fuck they're saying. I'm Italian. I have no interest in going there. I'm American. I devour data. I devour information. I try to acquire knowledge. That's what I do with my time.
That's the reason that you were an addict in your youth, is like you didn't know how to control your brain chemistry, probably. That's my opinion.
They had to take a globe out of my kindergarten class, because back when I was a kid, they still weren't talking about continental drift. It was a scientific thought. But I argued with the teacher over and over again. All of these pieces of land connected at one time. There was no talk of Pangea back then. All of a sudden, they started to realize that continents drift, that the earthquakes and the movement of the crust is real. And so it was like in the early 70s, like 73, 74, where they started to discuss and then eventually teach the continental drift to the students. But I was way ahead of the curve. How could you look at the globe, really, any time in history and not see that these pieces of land once connected? I don't know how people lived all that long and didn't see that. I couldn't have been the only idiot in kindergarten that noticed that. So the teacher, I was so obsessed, they had to take the globe out of the side of the classroom.
That's amazing.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
I remember hearing you telling that story, and I'm just a new person to your channel, brand new, really, within a few, episodes.
Well, I appreciate
And I've already picked up on, your intelligence and such. But I'm really grateful for what you put forth. And Kara is awesome. I love Kara Willis. I think it's funny that you had put her on tonight. She's kind of taken a different stance recently, but she's, from being from England and having this such a devotion towards Brian Koberger's, case and his innocence. I mean, it's amazing. There are people from overseas,
right,
looking at America and seeing what a BS,
I disagree with her argument. He's innocent. I disagree with him being innocent. And I disagree with him being guilty. See, there's no, the only one that'll ever know is Brian. And I said this a long time ago. Even if the car isn't 11 to 13, we can't be sure Brian didn't get out of his car and get into someone else's when that phone went off.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And I could paint more viable pictures to show him as a perpetrator as I could paint as many pictures to show him as not being the perpetrator. So therefore, in America, that's why you're supposed to have innocent till proven guilty. And the key word is proven. And that's why I try to get people to focus only on that. Ignore guilt or innocence until the information in front of you tells its story, right? So if you took a rock and you examine the rock, there's a story to be told about that rock. So if you could pick up a random rock anywhere in the world, there's a story about where that rock, you can tell where it came from, what part of the earth it came from, maybe even what region it came from, and even specifically what beach it may have come from. Everything has a story to tell. The point is you need to find the facts to hear that story. And most people they've not been trained to think that way. They've been trained to think about what they feel or what they believe. Like you listen to a guy like Paparotti and you believe. Well, that's a huge error. There's nowhere in the word think that you can apply belief to. Because if that's the case, how is it that people believe in God, but there's no evidence to support? You can't bring something to my table and show me that proves there's a God, right?
No.
That's where your power of belief is supposed to be applied, and only there. Because belief, once you believe something, no other fact can interfere with that. So if you, like, for instance, you see this explicitly in Muslims, they believe in what they believe, and no matter what you tell them, you're not going to shake that belief. Now, imagine that same kind of mentality when you're looking at a murder case, and you got 5.63 billion morons out here that are using a unique capacity, unique to only human beings, the power of belief. We can believe the unverifiable. The deer doesn't do that. Lions don't do that. Cockroaches don't do that. We do. So that imminent power to believe should never be applied to man's knowledge. That's why we were thrown out of the Garden of Eden, right? We ate from the tree of knowledge. We were told not to. And the quagmires that we're caught up in now, whether you believe in religion or not, are all arguments about, I'm arguing with people about they believe he's guilty. And I can't argue with somebody that's already concluded because they believe it. You could show them all of these videos that Ann Taylor keeps pouring all this evidence out that he couldn't even have been at the house, and they don't want to hear it. Because they just like people believe in God, they believe in data. And it's a very sad
I
thing.
think they're media brainwashed, you know?
Well,
So-
but they do it through the process. They do the brainwashing because we surrender our belief to the information. You should keep it separate
media
from.
propaganda.
Yeah, but even people on the internet, they're no better than the media. How is Pavarotti and TikTok and these other people telling you he's guilty or innocent? What makes them different than the media? They're preying on your ability to believe. They're not making you look at facts and come to an answer. Fair enough. They're just saying this information proves he's innocent. No, it doesn't. I don't care how
So
much.
I understand,
Right.
part of what you're saying. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Is that you just want to see the court, do the right thing by the law and prove it,
Right.
and show the facts,
Right.
and show the law or such, how that pertains to Brian. And what it's not that we know one way or another. It's just let's go by the law.
But the facts are supposed to be provided so that you don't need to believe. Facts have nothing to do with belief. There is no fact that God exists other than you believe in it. And you believe in it because whatever your motive might be, I completely love that people are able to do that. But when the fact comes forward that no car can be identified on the video, then you don't have to believe that. That's a fact. Like I always accepted,
Right.
I accepted Dylan Mortensen's statements. Now I highly don't.
We don't know that she stated that, Sarge. We don't know.
Correct. And people were arguing that,
has to be
but
putting that BS.
people were arguing 2 years ago. People were saying there's no way Dylan said that, and I said, listen. Be that as it may, you have no evidence to contradict it. And until you do, you have to accept it as fact. That's how you're supposed to think about things. So when when they come out and say that a man was walking toward me, clad in black, wearing a black mask, and I froze in shock face and closed the door. That's the only fact base you have. You have to accept that. Now we know that she said way more than that to the cops, and everything she said contradicts that. Now you have a new set of facts to make an opinion on. It's not a belief. You have new facts that people were said to have ran up and down the stairs, that she was drunk, that she can't remember. None of this was given to us. So that's why I said in the beginning, you must accept what's being given to you as fact until or unless contravening data changes it. That's how you deal with information. So, everybody ignored what she said. Oh, I believe the cops are lying. That's not how you're supposed to do it. When you're a thinking person, you don't discredit data because you don't like where it came from. You don't like the messenger or you don't like the words. You see?
Right.
And they're not teaching that to us anymore. They've convinced us that doesn't matter.
It's just that people smelled something rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, right. That's fair.
It
That's
didn't
fair.
make sense. There was too much that was rotten in Denmark. We just smelled a fish.
Yeah, we did smell a fish, and I accept that I accept that, but you can't then adopt that as a written in stone point. In other words, your point of view has to be malleable when you're dealing with data, and it's created right, and it's created by man, and we're fault. We can lie, we can make a mistake, we can be in error. So until the mistake or the lie or the error is pointed out, in light of not having that, when you're given data, you have to take the data at face value and try to make it make sense. And if it doesn't, then you have to wait. Like I told Dago in February, when the story came out about a naked man running from the home, one of Bethany's close friends had come onto the internet and said, Bethany saw a naked guy running away from the house. And everybody laughed and said it was crazy. And I said, listen, folks, that's a piece of data you need to keep track of. Because as unlikely as it is, and as likely as there may be some truth to this. Maybe she saw a black man run away, right? So in other words, for that person to make that statement, it was important to me to keep track of it. And now we find out that in fact, she saw a naked guy run away from the house. 2 years later, we find that out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it sounds complicated. I don't know how to make it
No.
sound any easier,
It
but
does not. Does not sound complicated at all.
you know, and it
It's
wa-
just, you know, what happened is the cops, they're withholding that they're, you know, protecting, or they're having, Bethany not really in the forefront. They're keeping her away.
Yep.
Dylan's statements are here, but yet they're contradictory from the original statements, and they're not providing Ann Taylor the information she's asking for. All of that is rotten in Denmark.
and
All of
when
it.
and when you listen to guilters to say, see, that proves Brian took his clothes off. Okay, let's accept
They're
that.
insane.
But no, they're not insane. Let's accept. Well, they're not. They're not trained in how to. They're not trained in how to think. They're ignorant. Ignorance is lack of knowledge, right? So you can fix ignorance. You can't fix stupid. Just be aware. Stupid is permanent. If you're
Okay.
stupid, you're fucked. If you're ignorant, you're fixable, because ignorance is just a lack of knowledge. That's all.
Okay.
So they're ignorant, because if you're going to say that proves Brian was there and he took off his clothes and ran away, well, if he took off his clothes and ran away naked, I'm sorry, but it appears like he dropped the glove outside the rear sliding door. Pardon me. Let's not forget that. And now we also know that glove has blood on it that's not Brian's. So that means the guy that ran away from the sliding glass door that undressed and dropped his glove, how else would the glove with blood got there if he didn't drop it? Right? Now, we know that person that ran away from the house wasn't Brian. We also now know, because someone ran away from the house, that all this talk about cars isn't real. What car was there? What does it got? What car's got anything to do with it when the perpetrator ran off naked? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And see, people that have committed themselves to believe one way or the other just don't want to work their little minds through the facts that are laid at their feet. So again,
Yeah.
you know, if a guilter says that proves Brian did it, because I always said he took his clothes off, put them in a bag. Okay, you guessed right. Well, now there's a glove right there in the area where he would have stripped down. Why does that glove not have Brian Koberger's? Say that again.
Don't you think, Sarge, with that kind of crime scene for people, the person, no matter what, would have DNA all over? They're not in a little tiny button.
Well,
That's absurd.
I think the real problem, and Ann needs to really push this, is you're accusing my client of doing the crime when you have 4 different male DNAs in the crime scene. How do you know? In other words, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that of the 4, he wielded the knife.
You know, let's think about this. You're stabbing away at 4 people, and you're not getting a speck of your DNA anywhere but a tiny button on a knife sheath. You know, it's just absurd. That is absurd.
Listen, I don't know how you carry a
Makes
K
no
bar.
sense.
How you would?
How absurd is this?
How do you carry? Listen, this is equivalent to putting your bullets in your pocket, putting your gun in your hand, and entering a home that you know you're going to commit murder in, and then having to put the bullets in the gun and you drop one. That's the equivalent of what happened with this knife sheath. You're bringing in a weapon that's a murderous weapon in a sheath that now requires you to carry both the knife and the sheath. I'm an ex-criminal, and I'm telling you, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It is actually, it's
Yeah.
like a Barney Fife move.
It's just not real.
And Ann said it the other day. It's a movable. It's a movable part of that moves around. The knife sheath. It's not stationary to the home. It's not a part of the home. I've always been under my thinking has said to me that knife sheath belonged to the girls, and that knife as well. And I could be completely wrong on that, but the location of where it was found is very similar to what I do with a remote control when I'm watching TV in bed. I stick it under my blanket or under my hip and blanket, so I don't lose it.
Okay, but now let's think of this. Supposedly, somebody spotted that from across the room on the second pass, not the first, right? So it was the second time around it was spotted from across the room.
Right.
I'm sorry, if it's underneath a human being, I don't think so. And it's the second pass, you don't spot something like
How
that
about the
from
shoe
across
print?
room.
The shoe print was the second pass as well.
Yeah,
And-
it makes no sense.
And do we have
Look at
copies of
that.
all the shoes that these people wore in? Where are the footprints of all the people that went in and out of the property? You got a collection of them? And I mean, not just
We have 8
the,
hours.
no. I'm talking about your team, your forensics team, your police. You got prints of all their shoes?
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then that footprint's not relevant to the crime scene. It can't be because the crime scene was compromised then.
It was. And so, and that's my point too. If I were, I guess, in the defense position, 8 hours had transpired, and who knows what happened then? Where did that knife, on the second pass, they find a knife sheath, and 8 hours had transpired that, things were compromised. We don't know what happened in that 8 hours.
So how about the question? How about the statement when the cop says, when the cop says he walks down the hallway towards the bathroom, he sees the body in the room. But here's a question. Dylan didn't have to go to the bathroom for 8 hours? Why did Dylan call somebody over to the house before the police?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark and Betty. There's so many holes in this case that are just flagrantly like unexplainable, and I don't want it to be unexplained. I mean, you look at the Gilgo case. You look at a lot of cases of murder. You look at Ted Bundy. There's no question these people committed these crimes because the evidence proves they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm looking for in any of the cases I observe. I have no horse in this race, other than I think more Americans need to be involved in this horse race because we're losing our rights.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's my intrigue here. It was first and foremost, I thought, okay, that doesn't make sense. One person committed the murder, and then it became, my God, how are they framing one guy for this when it doesn't make any sense? And then the more you looked into it, the 8 hour time gap of calling, 911, but you're calling your friends over first. That makes absolutely no sense.
Well, if I could give advice to Steve Gonzalez, I would say you need to file the suit against that town now before this goes to trial. And you need to make the arguments, evidentiary arguments of that they mishandled the case. And I don't care if that frees Brian Kohlberger or not, or if it screws up their prosecution, because these people shouldn't be in a position to prosecute this kid. And I'm not saying that because he's innocent. I'm saying that because I bought tires from you. You didn't put air on them, and you told me I was okay to leave. What kind of an idiot are you? You changed my oil, and you didn't put oil back in my motor? What kind of a fool idiot are you? That's unacceptable. You're supposed to be a professional in your task. And so if the police paint this big story of Brian's presence and forget, oops, there were 3 other guys we can't identify. Oh, all right. Well, then just kill that one.
Yeah.
Just kill one of them. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Right?
No. This is absurd. The whole thing is ridiculous. There's way more to this, Sarge. I know you don't want to look into it, and I won't go into it either, but, there's a lot more to this when you really start to investigate, like Kara Willis has put out, and there are many others. So I actually tried to investigate, being among, different content creators and things. And from my understanding and seeing these different pieces, which I won't go into, I know you're not into this, but there's just so much more. And just on the surface of what you're talking about, on that level, there's enough evidence to acquit Kohlberger.
The judge should accept the Franks hearing, and the judge should throw out the evidence that was collected after the IGG identification. Anything from that identification forward should be stopped, because that piece of information was used to frame the person. It wasn't used to solve a crime. And whatever Brian Kohlberger's involvement or non-involvement in this crime is, will never be known. But this case should not be going to a court. And at the Franks hearing, it should show that officers lied to the court, that officers have misled, intentionally or unintentionally, and that is a crime. You lied.
Intentionally, they absolutely intentionally.
Right? In some cases, maybe not all of them. But that's the other thing too. There's a cop that was on here, but I was one of the people that helped bark him out of here by, he said a grandfather clock landed on his mother, and I won't let him forget that. I mean, what kind of a son lets a grandfather clock land on their mom? Anyway, but he's a cop, and I said cops are supposed to report on cops. And I asked him, if you're at a major crime scene like this and your partner makes a mistake, you're going to turn him in? He goes, well, it depends on how big the mistake is. And I said, are you out of your fucking mind? You're not judge, jury, executioner. You're just a cop. And if your partner makes a mistake, it needs to be reported. Let the people in charge decide if it's something he's going to be punished for or not. But more importantly, you report him because what he did may disqualify that evidence. And that your job is to make sure that when you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that proof is collected based on the constitutional limits that government has. You cannot determine whether what your fellow policeman did is big enough of a mistake or not. That's not your job.
That would be nice if they would do the right thing.
Right? If you're in they train the other guys that come in to do what they're doing. And Judge is one of those idiots. His question is so out of bounds of what she's trying to point out that I wonder, is he listened to anything?
You mean Hitler?
Hitler, yeah. The judge, yep. I call him the judge, yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he seems to be geared towards protecting the prosecution. I mean, you may disagree, but it seems he is a little bit bent that way. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see how it goes, and what goes forward.
I'll ask you another question. This is why I don't pay attention to other streamers and who did it. Why I avoid all them people. Do you know why eggs cost so much?
Why what?
Why the eggs cost so much?
Yeah, because Biden didn't he kill all the chickens? There was some.
When did you find that out?
I knew that like when it happened.
Okay, good. You're one of the few.
I live in. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I moved from California to kind of a rural area in the Midwest.
Hundreds of millions of chickens.
And I live in chicken area.
The largest chicken farm in America was burnt to the ground. See, when you get the bird flu, you just can't. It's not enough to kill the birds. You got to kill all the structures.
Killing chickens in like little places that had few chickens. They made the people kill their chickens.
Well, you have to burn the chickens. In one farm, they killed 100 million chickens in one farm. They burned the whole farm to the ground because it's not just enough to take out the birds. You got to make sure everything they were in contact with has also been destroyed, so you don't reinfect a new batch of birds. And so the bottom line is Americans weren't being told that when this first started going on a few years ago. There were reports.
There's a bunch of idiots in our country.
Oh man. So many people, and they'll spend all their time out here arguing Kohberger's guilty. Meanwhile, they can't afford a dozen eggs. Well, it's your own fault because you're an idiot.
There's a bunch of people that just listen to the mainstream media and believe everything they're told and don't look further.
Yes.
I used to be an idiot when I was younger, and then I ended up, around the time when Trump was first going to get into office. Something happened. I just started listening to both sides. Thank God. I was in outside sales in the logistics world, and I started hearing Rush Limbaugh, and I would listen to both sides, and I realized, my God, and then I saw when the media spun what Trump said to be different than what he actually said. Yeah. And I'm like, my God, they're trying to start a race war. This is not what the man said. I saw exactly what he said live. And we had, living in California, we had a lot of Hispanic friends, my son, myself, and so on and so forth. And we saw what they were doing. And it was horrific, And so then I became aware that way. And then the more I investigated the left media, I realized what liars they were. But you never know until you know. Sadly,
that's carried out on all these. This is the other thing too. A lot of people say they get alternative media. They go on YouTube or other places, and that you look at to a lot of these people that are arguing innocent or guilt. They're no better than the mainstream media. They're not basing even if they're using some of the factual information. There's no way for them to know whether Kohberger did this. It just isn't. Yeah. Even though now the cops painted a picture that makes it look impossible for him to do it. But that's only one in many ways he could have done it, right? Mm-hmm. And there's one in many ways that he couldn't have done it. So you could look at it from both. But the point is, I don't think we're ever really going to know. But the tragedy here is that's not because the system is it's because the system is broke and because the people don't demand the correct answer. So when you listen, like I didn't care for Rush Limbaugh, I used to listen to him too, but I got to the point where I wanted. What can we do as a group together to change things? right? Like AOC, I played a video from her. I'm not a supporter of the AOC, but she talked about TikTok. And if you're going to ban TikTok from collecting Americans' personal information, then why are you letting Intel do it? Google do it? Facebook do it? Why is my personal information got to be handed over to a corporation so that I can use their services? That should be outlawed. You should have no right to my personal data ever. And we all can agree on that, right? So why isn't somebody like Dan Bongino or somebody like Joe Rogan, why aren't they telling Americans, here, this is what we need to do? And we all need to, if you agree with this, we all need to get together and sign a petition demanding the government pass a law preventing business from collecting and saving our personal data. And whatever data they have must be burned. And if they're going to live, if Facebook is going to live, if their argument is we need that for income, then charge me to be on your site and let me decide whether I want to be on your site or not. Make it like everything else. I got to decide whether I buy a Ford or a Datsun, right? But why is Ford then entitled to my information in perpetuity that he could trade and charge and sell off? There's no agreement. I'm buying your car, dude. You shouldn't have access to my personal data that you then transpire and exchange amongst other businesses by profiting from my personal data. Where's my money?
Now Ford, I know, and now you know I own a Ford too. I own a Ford Maverick truck that I just bought brand new, and they have a thing, the computer system, where they are, they make it where they can send your information to the insurance companies. With in terms of how fast you drive.
Yeah. And here's the thing is that is a topic that all Americans, regardless of what your life is, someone like Rogan with 100 million followers should be saying, here's a petition, sign it, and I'm going to send this off to Trump. And in other words, we're the solution, people. Everybody sells outrage. Like it's outrageous that they killed all them chickens and people don't know. Okay. But the outrage isn't enough for me. What's the solution to this? And the solution is some streamer that has a huge following, like Tucker, any of them, having a segment on their, this is the solution page. This is what we as Americans can do
I agree.
to govern our country, because we are we are the government. That's kind of what I try to push. I try to point that out to people. We need a place to come together, and issues that are do we want to fund Ukraine? There's so few Americans that would agree with that if the government was sent 250 million signatures of no, right? Now what's the government supposed to do? If they deny it, that becomes the news. If they ignore us, that becomes the news, that you could sell me all the outrage you want on it, because at least the government now knows where we stand. And that,
what I hear is like on Bongino, he will say, call your congressmen and your senators or whatever, and they'll give the numbers at times. So they do that, but we have to stand together as a people.
And people are in positions to help us do that, like the Bonginos. I know Dan does that on a few issues, like he did that with J6 and stuff. But can't we do that on every common day issues that make life more affordable and more pleasant to live?
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think you're right.
Our voices matter, yet we're trapped in this circular jerk fucking internet news media cycle. And nothing gets, like we're thinking Trump is going to save us. Well, like I said earlier,
poor man, he's got enough going on, but he's doing so well. I have to
yes,
say.
I agree.
Today he signed those executive orders to ban men and women's sports.
That needs to be made a law, because what happened when Biden came in is he deleted all of Trump's executive orders. Yeah. Those executive orders are a joke. I mean, their intention is
from one to another.
Yeah. So what we need, this is what I mean. Why isn't Dan or all these other people saying, listen, folks, we need as many signatures on this form, and I'm going to send it right to Trump's desk, and I'm going to send it to the head of Congress and the head of Senate, that we want this passed into law. We don't want an executive order giving these oil companies the right to drill on federal land. What we want is for that federal land to be moved from the federal registry and it be turned back over to the state, so the citizens can benefit from the oil companies being there of that state, just like you did with abortion. Turn all that federal land back over to the states. Stop giving the federal government the power to shut down oil companies on federal land. What do you need? You guys don't need to own shit. You're a federal government. Leave it alone. We need a law to fix this oil issue, the energy issue, not an executive order. So most of his executive orders, like you pointed out with the transgender stuff, fantastic.
Mhm.
But if it's not codified in law, passed by Congress and the Senate and signed by a president, then it's a Band-Aid. And I don't want to elect people to put Band-Aids on my problem so that the next party that comes in can destroy and create the problem all over again.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's something that, you're very much aware of beyond the normal human.
Well, I'm not. No, don't say that. No, I'm just more in tune to what. And I say to people, if you don't know how the system works, don't talk about it. Right?
I mean, I'm glad that he's doing what he's doing, but like you're saying, it's a Band-Aid and someone can undo what he's doing. So, I mean, that's the thing is how do we have to come together and, I mean, our truthers, here's the thing that I want to speak about is the truther community, each of the creators here, I don't really put anyone down or whatever in terms of what they do or don't do, but I think each of us, I'm not a creator, but each of the truther community, with regards to this, I exclude the guilt truth, but we're people that want the truth and good for, the laws to be upheld that are right. I think everyone has a piece of a good piece of the pie, and we're all trying to solve this problem.
But
and maybe we can all come together, and maybe this is something we can do as a community.
Well, no, this is what we're supposed to do as American citizens. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, right? We don't have a democracy. We have a representative republic, just for the reasons I'm sharing. The reasons you have representative republic is so that you, the people, can stand up and say, this is what we expect. No shenanigans. No more taking my personal data and being able to profit from it. That needs to end. And here's how we could do this as a people. We can all tell Elon, we're going to leave X if you don't come to it. If you don't protect our data, give it back and destroy it and stop selling it and stop letting advertisers buy it, then we're not going to be on your site. And we all need to be prepared to get up and leave X. Even though you think Elon's on your team, Elon faced with that would agree with us. I guarantee it. But there's no push. And Dan and these other people have the facility to get us to push on issues they cross all party lines. Energy. We want all the energy we can possibly get. We want to rebuild our electrical grid. We want federal lands defederalized so that these oil companies can pay the states that they're in like they do Alaska. I mean, there's so many things that we should be doing, and there should be a group of streamers that have a big reach that could make this a reality. I'm not a big enough voice. I just want, 30, I'm 36 people in here right now. There's nobody in here.
The thing is, this community here, it's really evolved from seeing our rights, Brian Koberger's rights being, trampled on. And I think it's really gotten the people aware of what the government is doing. And hopefully, even right now, Cash Patel and such, he's been, and I guess the CIA is like letting a bunch of people go. Have you heard about that one? They're giving people pass to leave. I mean, and I think reforms are going to happen if hopefully maybe whoever is the rotten apples in the FBI might leave, hopefully. But I think the people in this, that were intrigued by this case have seen how bad it is in terms of what they're doing to our rights. And
right.
This isn't America. This is not what we thought we lived. We didn't think this is what the country that.
Well, they finally released an email that showed all the tops of your intelligence agencies, the 51 of them that went against Trump on the Hunter laptop, all of them knew they were doing it to help Biden. They knew it was real. No, an email was just released by Ratcliffe. They knew it was real.
I didn't see that.
They knew that data that laptop was 100% belonged to Hunter Biden. It was true. They knew it. Remember back in, did
They
you
were
ever?
selling our country out. I mean, they were literally trading, in my opinion, I'll say. What I think happened there with that whole Hunter Biden ordeal was his, position over there wasn't it in the Ukraine in some kind of energy sector. He was definitely trading favors.
You want to know another reason I don't like Dan Bongino?
Or why?
Because Dan Bongino's brother was in the Trump dossier where they alleged Trump urinated on Obama's bed. Remember that?
You mean in Russia or something?
Yeah, but
Like
here's the truth. Here,
thing?
remember when they said that Trump's advisor Carter Page was offered 11% of Russia's largest oil company if he did behind the scenes things with Trump to benefit Russia? I could point out all the accusations in that dossier, and all of those accusations are real crimes. There really was there. Listen. In Colombia, Dan Bongino's brother was the lead team for the Secret Service. And it was that lead team that also stays behind and brings all the shit home. So they go and secure it, all the cars that are going to be needed, everything that's needed. There's an advanced team. That team of guys were busted and kicked out of the Secret Service for hiring prostitutes and underage women that they were never convicted of and doing drugs and alcohol on the Obama away team when Obama went and visited Colombia. During that time is when the golden showers took place on Obama's bed. That Obama bed story is a real story. It just has nothing to do with Donald fucking Trump or Russia.
Oh my God.
Okay, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't care for that. Yeah, well, Dan Bongino's brother was in the mix of that. I also found out that the offer that they gave Carter Page, the bribe that they were supposedly offering him, is a real deal. But it was Hunter Biden and the owner of China's largest shipping firm that were trying to purchase 11% of the oil company in Russia. I found that out through left-wing media on BuzzFeed. And then in Hunter's laptop, I finally realized that Hunter wasn't not just involved, but who his involvement was with, because Hunter in that laptop makes a statement. One of the wealthiest 40-something-year-olds in the world is a Chinese guy with an oil shipping company that's disappeared and dead. And I don't want to end up like him. So my point is that a lot of what was in that dossier were real life things that really happened, but they had nothing to do with Trump and his people. Yep.
Wow. Oh my God.
So I talked with General. Are you hearing me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I hear
okay.
you. Can you
I
hear me?
talked with a whole bunch of people. Then when I got kicked off of Twitter? Was when Sidney Powell and General Flynn came out and said the Democrats stole the election. And I had actual figures to show that the count in the Republican districts is where Trump lost the election. He only lost the election by 56,000 votes. I know he lost all the swing states, but all the total combined.
Atlanta was one, and it was only a few votes.
It was 11,279. But if you went and looked at all the count in Georgia, you would see that counties that Trump won by 80%, he won by Biden by 48 or 52%. So in other words, Trump in Texas, he got one town in Texas 98%, but against Biden, he only got 78% of the vote. In Pennsylvania, where all they do is frack, where Trump got 88% of the vote in the first election, in 2020, he only got 72% of the vote. And that happened in a whole bunch of red districts all over the country, including Florida. And I pointed that out and said, you're wrong. It wasn't just the Democrats that stole the election. It was with cooperation of Republicans. Those Republican voting booths that you're not even paying attention to amount for several thousands of the votes that he lost by. And if those Republican districts didn't have that discrepancy, Trump would have won. I don't care what the Democrats did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, did you hear about, there were truck drivers, because I'm in the logistics world, and there were truck drivers for the logistics, companies that came out and testified in calls like Sean Hannity and stuff. They actually testified that they drove truckloads of ballots for Biden across state lines.
Yeah.
Like in Pennsylvania was one of them, I think.
But can I just say to you, can I say something to you though?
And Wisconsin.
That was never proven. That's the catch-20. No. And it's been alleged. That's why Sidney Powell and General Flynn blocked me, because I called their bluff. You keep blaming the Democrats, and the Democrats were only half of the steal. The other half was Mitch McConnell. It was the Rubio. It was the Cruzes. It was the governor from Ohio. The governor in Georgia, the current governor in Georgia, teamed up with Stacey Abrams and changed all the voting machines in Georgia, which is a red state, I'll mind you, and changed all the voting machines to Dominion machines. Why did he do that? Why did and Trump and that guy never got along? Trump and him have always been at odds. He hates Trump, that governor. And Stacey Abrams, the ballot harvesting queen of the world, is the person he teams up with to change the voting machines in Georgia, and Trump loses Georgia by 11,000 votes? Really? That's not a coincidence? That's not a red state cheating with Democrats? So what happened is Sidney Powell and General Flynn got furious that I was showing the math, and they blocked me, and they told everybody to get away from me. And they did. And I got banned from Twitter. Then, lo and behold, a year later, the world's greatest mathematician took that election under his belt and did the math, and his conclusion matched mine exactly. That they could not have won if they weren't stealing from the red districts.
Interesting.
Interesting, isn't it? That's why I don't trust any politician. I'm not of any party. And I trust Trump some, but not like I did in the beginning. I see Trump as another cog in the wheel. This time he looks like he's doing what he should have done the first time. He's trying to drain the swamp. He's putting people in that are not swamp connected, as far as I can tell. And he's trying to do the things he should have done. And I'm with him at this point, but we'll see.
They almost killed him twice. So I think he's honestly had a higher calling.
Well, I think he knows if he don't get rid of these people, he's going to be gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like going, balls to the wall, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, there you go.
He's just going all out there because he's got nothing to lose. They almost killed him twice. And he's basically just saying, F it, I'm doing everything that I wanted to do the first time and was too timid maybe, or try to play nice. And now he's just going for it.
And if we want the golden age, we got to convince one of these big name fucking people out here to start proffering solutions that we can all get on board with, and then putting them in petition form and sending them off to the Congress, to the Senate, and to Trump, right? Because we can all agree with so many things, even no matter if you're gay or not, if you're fat, if you're black, if you're tall. So many things in this country we can agree on that we all need. And there's just no place for our voice to be heard as a single unified unit. Like I disagree with Democrats on a lot of stuff, but on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff that we both have to have regardless of who you voted for. Roads, ambulances, hospitals, fire, right? There's a lot of shit we all need to share or we're fucked.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that there's such a big vacuum in that nobody really brings us to point that out. They just want to sell us the outrage. Look what Maxine Waters did. Look what Mitch McConnell did. And, man, I don't really care. If these people knew what we wanted them to do because we were working in mass, these people wouldn't be doing that shit, or we'd have elected them out years ago.
Well, I think you've raised some excellent points and you have a strategy. So maybe you want to start something on a page that you
I've asked for help. I've asked for people that know how to do this for help, and I'd even pay. Like my stream, you can't donate to my stream. I don't need people's money. I don't want people's money. I'm not here to make nickels and dimes and dollars. I don't want it.
No, it's like whatever. If you put on your platform, look, I have started. Go ahead and sign up if you agree. And you're a voice of reason and intellect, and so I think people would follow suit if they agreed.
I think so. I think at least of the 40 people that are in here, probably all 40 of them would agree. But that's the catch 20. The catch 22 is there are people out there that are better representative to get that done, and they have the reach to make an instant impact. And by the time
you don't have to think like that. You're smart enough as you are, and you know what, our community does, look at how much it's growing with Coburger. We're quite a community, really. Even though I think people people need to just quit putting down each creator just should not put down another. Honestly, of the truthers, really, each one of us has I shouldn't count myself as us, but each truther has probably a piece of pie, and we can all join together in the fact that we know rights are being compromised, and in that we stand together.
Can I say though, I don't really think that on that level in this community is no better than in political communities, in that there's always people like Jeff H. and big volumes of people like that that'll be contrary just to be. They're going to be contrary just to be contrary.
Yeah, I don't know that guy Jeff H. I've only heard your, and seen the, little things you put out there, and others. A lot of people mention that guy, but I don't look into that guy.
Well, I decide.
Is he supposedly a guilter, or is he?
Yeah, he's a guilter. But here's where I draw the line. I won't associate with people that don't want to discuss the facts and take them at face value. Like I pointed out with Dylan's statement, I was wrong, but I didn't know I was wrong until last week, and I didn't go around preaching that what she was saying was the only way it could have worked out. I never said that. I accepted what she said and tried to understand the crime scene based on those statements. But I'm always open. If a video shows up that shows Brian's car with the license plate on it near that house, I completely will accept that.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know its foundation, how they got it, where it was, why hasn't it been put forward earlier? So normal questions, but I accept the DNA on the sheet as being Brian's, but there's a trillion reasons why it might not be. Right. So, but again, they say it's there. I'll accept it until somebody can show me that is not his DNA. But at this point, all we got to go on is the information they've given us. So you have to take it at face value. And I don't want to argue about its validity. Pardon me?
There is more, actually. And I know that you're so against it, so please forgive me in advance for bringing this up. But just know that I mean it only with good heart. There's, tapes and such. There is such evidence, more evidence, I guess, if you cared to really look, than what the courts and the LE law enforcement are telling us. There are actual, videos that you can see what has happened and transpired, the surveillance tape. I mean, it's just unfortunate. I've heard so many people, say.
I don't know what you're referring to. Wait. I don't know what you mean by the body cams and the Linda Lane and the grub truck and all of them videos.
Yeah,
okay, let's wait. Yeah, wait. No, listen. Listen. To me, it's a factual waste of time because none of that is part of this legal proceeding.
I know they're not bringing it in.
No, because it's not relevant. Wait. It's not. Here's what I'm trying to say is that's not true what you're saying. It's not relevant because it's not part of the discovery, nor is it part of the prosecution's material. As to whether it may or may not have something to do with the crime is beyond my analysis. When you're looking to see if somebody is proven guilty, bringing in information that's not a part of the accusation is not the way to do it. Okay. And this is what I'm trying to say. I know the grub truck and the Linda Lane and all those videos exist. May they show something? They might, but nobody can show any conclusive evidence that shows that grub truck proves who did it. Therefore, Ann's not going to use it. And what is Ann being told? What she's being given is all that matters in Brian's case. Now, the overall satisfaction of the crime may include some of those videos, but to me, it's a really huge waste of brain power when getting people to understand that what only matters is what proof is being offered, not what proof you might find on your telephone or Google, okay, or Google Earth. Great. Where does that free Brian Kohlberger? It doesn't. Where does that convict him? It won't, because it's not part of the court proceeding. So
the thing though, Sarge, there are these surveillance tapes that show a multitude of humans, and it's not Brian. It's not one person. It's like there's a person tied up. I mean, honest to God, it's out there. It's out there. You can.
No, you're getting into the Tommy Jude area where he's taking these videos, he's blowing them up.
No, he doesn't. No, none of them.
That Bubbly Waters does that. All these people, what else? The mob crew does that. All of these people do that crazy shit.
No, it's a surveillance tape that is out there. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry to talk about it, but it is out there.
What does it show? What does the
I'll
surveillance
check
tape
on
show?
that.
And why isn't it in Ann's possession?
It is. I guess it is.
What
Yes,
you,
it
but you
is,
don't know
but
what
I don't know that I don't know if it's gonna come out in court or not. We'll see,
what does the
It's
surveillance tape
unfortunate.
show? What does it show?
It shows a person tied up. It looks like Kaylee. They're saying
And on the bed.
no, she's like tied to a chair supposedly. There's, oh my God, I don't know if you really want me to say all this, but it shows people, like you can see faces, you can see what they're doing. It is horrific. You hear voices. It is just absolutely awful. And there is, he does say in an interview on, like with the news, with his wife next to him, there's an interview that he says he doesn't even know if Brian Koberger is they said, do you really think he's the person? He goes, I don't know, because there was a video that I saw, a leaked video, in which he said the FBI knows about it. And he talked about this. And he
There's
said,
also, listen, I think I
people.
remember that video and you hear people screaming.
I mean,
There's, listen, that was a manufactured video.
it was.
Yes, but also let me just say this. Even if the video is real, what good is it?
It shows that it wasn't one person.
Well, wait a minute. No,
And it's
wait. You only know that because that's how people are telling you what it means on the internet. We don't have can you imagine somebody having a video of all the faces and all that information and being kept secret and it being kept and not being part of the everyday discussion about this case?
I know. It's mind blowing. It is mind blowing. Supposedly the defense has the video. I don't know.
No, see, I say to you that I won't take anything that's not being pushed through legal channels, and all of that discussion and all this so-called evidence that these people have found on their computers and phones. Just think about that. How did these people get access to this? What's the credibility in the chain of custody of this information? And the fact that the fact that you don't even have Ann talking about that. She's not making a case of an alternate suspect or suspect. She's making a case that your case is a lie. Because that's what the defense has a couple of ways to argue this case in court. And if she has evidence to say other people did it, you'd be hearing her making that comment somewhere in all of these hearings. And she's not. Therefore, you can't place any weight on that video, no matter how convincing it looks or no matter how people talk about it. It isn't part of the case. So it's not relevant.
I think they haven't supplied her with on the record with other tapes, but maybe we'll see something that happens in court. I don't know.
I won't take a streamer's I just won't take a streamer's interpretation of it no more than I would take Nancy Grace's interpretation of it. Or
no, it's not a streamer's interpretation. It's actual footage that you just interpret yourself. They don't speak. I'm sorry to even talk about it. Really, I could probably forward you the info, but it's scary.
But but here's the thing. Does that in any way, shape, or form advance the case that's in front of us?
I think so. For me, it
How?
made me go from thinking it was a cartel hit. Like I thought it was a cartel hit. Like my brain was trying to figure out what happened here. And then I saw these footages of the drug truck people and what they're saying. Like there's footage that video surveillance footage that shows people looking at their phones and saying the people's names.
Mm-hmm.
There's audio.
Yeah, that all originated with that Huda. Listen, that originated with Huda of London. I know where this stuff comes from, and I'm telling you, that stuff is meaningless. It's a waste of brain power to examine because in no way, shape, or form will it ever be used to solve this crime. And yet everybody thinks everybody is thinking that stuff means something, but in the real world, it means nothing, even if it's true. That's the shenanigans here. All we're really faced with in a case like this, you're faced with looking at the data as shown, as being brought up in court, as being argued in court. That's all you have to talk about. This other way of trying to solve it and bringing in videos that are suspect, videos that are questionable. And I think Heather and others have pointed out, that it was an AI generated thing. I used to talk with Huda personally on the phone. She used to call me from England, and I had to stop taking her calls. I am not here for other people to tell me what to think or what to see or what they discovered, because none of it has anything to do with this case. You really are better off watching paint dry, because it's going to be, you're leading yourself down the path of believing, and you're leading yourself down the path of non-relevant information. Someone else, it appears just from listening to court proceedings, it appears as if Brian was not involved, and there's 3 other men that may be involved. That we can clearly, okay, but I don't need someone showing me a movie of the victims and telling me it's real and blah, 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 blah. It's like, for what? Where's the value in that?
Yeah, you're right. That probably won't ever, maybe it won't ever go to court, but you're right about the 3 other DNA samples with blood evidence or whatever. So if you go based on that, Brian should be acquitted, or at least, have reasonable doubt in every aspect with what you're going to prove. His car not being there and not stalking and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Listen, I was told this. Look, I was told from people that the Pavarotti guy's been arrested for beating on women, domestic violence. Okay, that guy is and let me just say, let me just give you some tip. That he's a schmoozer. He's very smooth. He does put in the effort, and he can be very convincing. But isn't that what an abusive man does with women? Is that an unusual personality for someone like that to have? And I'd say to you, that's exactly what they would have. Someone like me is more apt to yell at you and tell you, and just walk the fuck out of the house. I ain't hitting you. But I will tell you, you nasty bitch, go fuck yourself. And out I'll go. Right? But I am not going to punch you in the face or hurt you or stalk you, or I don't have that personality. And the guy like A.R. Haynes, same thing. That guy acts like he's an ex-criminal. Most of his crimes are traffic violations. I know because I looked it up. I robbed the fucking bank. Of all of these guys that claim, listen, all these guys that claim they're criminals, they didn't do anything to the level that I did. And I'm the same way today as I was back then. I just have a different set of values, but I'm the same asshole that I've always been. And these guys are the same smooching con men they always been. You know what I was going to do? I'm going to say this out loud for the very first time. I was going to go to Las Vegas and hire A.R. Haynes' wife. Because in my opinion, with him going from hotel to hotel to hotel with his wife, indicates to me that she's an escort. Am I right? I don't know. But I think that there's some validity to that particular observation. Every time you stream, you're in a different hotel every 2 or 3 days. That's what escorts do. I know because I used to run escorts. That's how I know. And I was going to go to Las Vegas intentionally to try to hire his wife for a night out without him knowing. But I didn't do it. Okay. Now she's saying she's not. But in all fairness, Heather, being somebody that worked with escorts, everything I've seen is exactly consistent with how escorts live. Hotel to hotel to hotel. Now, I could be wrong. Listen, I could be wrong. But that's an observation from my life's experience and actually being involved with escorts for years.
So I wanted to tell you with regards to, the different creators that I've checked into. So I'm just trying to educate myself, and I don't have any bias or whatever. So I'm just trying to learn. And when I watch Pavarotti and his information, his whole MO is about the cartel. He really believes it's the cartel thing. That's his whole.
And how is it? Let me just ask you this. Let me ask you this. If your daughter was in that crime scene, would you approve of what he's doing? If it was your daughter that was slaughtered like that, do you think any of these streamers coming out with all this bullshit that isn't verifiable except for them telling you they verified it in this and that way, would you want your daughter to be talked about the way you're here? They're not talking about your kid, but they're talking about your kid. To me, that's heinous. That's immoral.
It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. I mean, this is the thing. This is the reason I appreciate the Fabricated information, Sarge, is he's awakened me, alerted me to the fact of the cartel rings of the AK. I never even knew of earring kings or knights or whatever the heck. I never knew of these cartels. I was in logistics. I was in the
But isn't that suggesting? Wait, if that was your daughter, wouldn't that be suggesting your daughter had connections to those filthy criminals? Is that okay with you? Is that okay?
No, but what if they did? Who knows?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Would you want people talking about your kid that way? To me, it's like, what the fuck?
I mean,
Why would people be okay with that?
But the thing is, there are connections with,
But
Amazon,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. To disparage all of these people is like, it's like, oh my God, are people really this?
I
This?
shouldn't say that. I know, it's terrible.
It's not just terrible. It's disgusting.
These
These families of these victims and their friends don't deserve any of this. These college students don't deserve it. Unless you have a smoking gun that proves that any of these individuals named are directly involved, leave it alone. Right?
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do, just like, I don't know him or anything, I just think he's trying to put connections in terms of where these people were, how they're connected to each other with the crime world, this underworld. And
but that isn't the case that's in front of us. See, listen, this is what I'm saying is you don't even realize that what you're doing is harming the families and the legacy of the victims. You think what you're doing is fair game and it makes sense. And what I'm trying to stress to you is that if this were your own child, you would not have that view. And that would be the correct view. We should not be spending time, listen, trying to solve this case and impugn others in the process of doing it. It's terrible for the victims. It's terrible for the survivors. Right? Like I just said, look I got A.R. Haynes going crazy in my chat room. I said what my observable opinion is of your wife and your living situation. I didn't say your wife was an escort. I said I was going to go to Las Vegas and try to hire her because that's what I inferred from what I was seeing on your stream. You going hotel to hotel to hotel. Tell me that wasn't happening, AR. You can't. And so I made a deduction. That's wrong and offends you, doesn't it? That's exactly what the fuck you people are doing to these victims. It's no fucking different. That's why I threw that out there, A.R. Haynes, is to make the point that when you make assumptions or you come to some conclusion based on honest observations, okay, then you're wrong and you're hurting people. I don't do that in my stream. I'm not here to pick on people at the grub truck or at the fucking Browning fucking serve fucking sausage factory. I'm looking at the case and the facts of the case and discussing the facts and making conclusions only within those facts. That's the fair way to do it. And it doesn't impugn anybody. I can suggest Dylan was involved. And I'm not impugning Dylan because Dylan was at the fucking house and she admits it. That's fair game. But to bring somebody in from the frat, to bring in some drug dealer, to bring in some Odinism, that's just disrespectful to the victims. I don't understand how I got I'm an ex-crackhead drug dealing fucking criminal. Where did I get that moral from? How the fuck did that land in my lap? Right?
Oh my God.
Out of all of you out here that are probably decent, hardworking Americans, where the fuck does my moral come above yours? It doesn't make no sense. It shouldn't be possible. But I just, again, you don't impugn people that you can't solidify, verify, and show that they're guilty of that crime. No, but you're looking, you don't talk about the victims. The victims need to be discussed. And when you're going to suggest that the Nazis did it or didn't do it, or you're going to suggest that some guy with bushy eyebrows did it or didn't do it, and you're going to connect those people to the crime and those kids, then you are talking about the victims. And you are disparaging people that have probably nothing to do with this at all. Nothing.
I agree with you that they need to, I mean, why isn't it that they're going after this blood evidence, yet they're going to put all their efforts into doing all this manufacturing of, I guess we'll kind of, if you want to agree with that word, but, all this seemingly manufacturing of the DNA on the sheep when they actually have blood evidence, that just.
And two locations that are relevant to the crime scene. I don't think blood on a glove is an irrelevant piece of evidence. Do you?
No.
Blood on a railing between the second and the fourth. That's not irrelevant, right?
No, that is not. And I think what is irrelevant is the touch DNA that they're really manufacturing and manipulating. That's irrelevant, in my opinion. The blood is not.
Right.
So this is why people don't. This is why the truthers at least can stand together, and we know that that's absurd.
Right. And here's in a very rational way, all I'm trying to say, when we apply our ability to think, by going down the woulda, coulda, shoulda is a sheer waste of that particular ability. You're looking at a man that's accused of a crime, and you could see the facts that are being alleged against the gentleman don't add up. That does not make him innocent. Okay. Doesn't make him innocent, but it makes you want to question the authority of the people that did this. It makes you want to question how law enforcement came to him and how they could get it so wrong. Because if he did do it, this man stands a chance of going free for a horrific crime. Rather than people paying attention to that and focusing on that, they want to talk about the Pavarotti plan. The Pavarotti solved it. And it doesn't help the case or the victims. You're not going to solve this case on your computer or your cell phone. If that were
I
the
don't think
right.
that people, Sarge, I don't think that a lot of the people that listen to watch Fabricated, a lot of the people comment that they don't actually 100% think that he has the whole picture. Like we think, a lot of people from what I've seen think he has a portion of the picture, but he doesn't have the whole one. People respect him for the work he's done, though, and
But his work has done nothing to it. His work is being twisted. Listen, I understand what guys are out here to entertain people, and a lot of people don't want to just stick with the facts and move on to something else. Imagine all the problems in the world we could solve if we paid attention to what mattered and let all the fluff and the stories and the hyperbole just be ignored. It's just insane that all of these streamers have all of these different theories. And the same thing with the Sebastian Rogers case. Everybody's convicted the parents. The parents, there's no evidence the parents did anything at all inappropriate. Their kid's missing. Okay. There's no evidence to point at any particular parent. Yet look at the chaos that goes on with that case and all the streamers that are attacking the Chris Proudfoot and the Katie Proudfoot. And then others attacking that. Right. But here's what I'm saying is all of that noise is such a waste of brain power. Together, we could solve all of the world's issues with the internet. This is the most powerful tool man has ever been given. And we've turned it into a fucking shit show of debating whether this guy did it or that's a real video or is she really tied up? Are they really killing her in that chair? Are they running away on the band field? Is the grub truck guy? Holy fuck. All unanswerable. Listen, all unanswerable questions. The only questions we need answers to is there proof Brian did it? That's the only thing that people should really concern themselves with and move on to something else. For fuck's sake.
there isn't. And why is he in jail? That doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah, see,
It
that's
doesn't make sense that they're keeping this guy in jail. It doesn't even make sense as an American. Somebody can be held in jail
for 2 years.
with lack of evidence. It makes no sense.
I was saying this and now Heather repeated it, or I'll give her credit for finally saying it. But what all these creators are doing, they're doing to all these other people what the PCA has done to Brian. The PCA is not helping these families understand who killed their loved ones. And all of these streamers with all of these videos and all of these tapes and all of these noises and all of these fucking theories are doing the exact same thing to those people that the government has just done to Brian. And the bottom line is the only place we can have an effectual voice is in the Brian accusations. All these other stories are just dead ends. They do create clicks. They do take people away from reality. I say if you need to escape from reality, do a fucking drug, be real. Don't bury yourself in the Idaho 4. Leave it alone. Go do some crack or something, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes, I mean, in so many respects, in terms of the case, of course, 100% that what we can see.
What can we have an impact on? What really matters here?
That's right.
And I look at that's these other guys. You're out here looking for money. I don't need the money, and I'm not bragging. I just don't need the money to make it that way. I could be a schmoozer, and I could be really calm and polite and put on a suit and get on here and smile and laugh and tell non-offensive jokes and carry on with a conversation about a video that shows this young woman being slaughtered in a chair. And look at all these people surrounding her. It's disgusting. Can we identify? Let's magnify this. But I mean, that shit I play with Tommy Jude. Have you ever seen that video of him alleging 4 boys were peeing on Ethan's face?
No, I have not. No.
I'll play that, but I'm going to have you step down because I want to bring a convict's thoughts with AR Hayes in here. But don't try to call in yet, AR, until I play this video here.
Oh
All right,
God,
darling.
I gotta turn it back on. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
turn it back on. I'll wait 60 seconds to play it.
do you want me to stay on the line or hang up?
I'll hang up and then I'll have AR 585-454-9932.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and wait for that video for 30 seconds. Because I got to stop the screen share to play this video.
Okay, bye.
All right, so stop the screen share. Where is it? Your Ass Hurts News Network. Yeah, there it is. Okay. This is what I mean, folks. It isn't, man, it just isn't fair to all the other people, whether they're involved or not. You can't prove their involvement, so why even go after them? Unless you have concrete evidence that can connect them to that crime at that date, at that time, or any time within that date before the bodies were found, then just leave these people alone. It doesn't help the families. It doesn't help the victims.
But folks, I don't even want to tell you what I seen. A lot of you got it. A lot of you got it. They can't tell me it's not real, man. I'm so happy that we know what you did. Had the guts to go digging. Because it validifies our work. We know what we've seen. We know what we've seen. You've seen the pictures. You've seen somebody pissing on Ethan's face. Allegedly. I'm supposed to say to be politically correct.
You see what I mean? What kind of bullshit is that? How does that help the victim or the family? Because you got some blown up pixelated fucking video and you dreamed up a situation where this young man's being urinated on and you're going to come out and put that in your stream? You're going to connect all of these different organizations that probably may or may not have any connection at all to anything other than their criminal organizations before and after this murder ever took place. How does that help the situation? When you're seeing an American citizen that didn't commit a crime in his whole life, okay? At best, he took his sister's phone and his own father turned him in. His own father that showed up with him to get him into school and then to visit him during his school year and then to leave on vacation, go all the way out there to take a little vacation with his son. That's what we know about Brian Koberger. That man is not a prior. I'm a prior fucking criminal. If you want to suggest I would turn my phone off to mask my crime, you're fucking a right I would. That would be a fair accusation against a guy with my background. But what about Brian? I don't know the guy. I know only what I know. But in no way, shape, or form do I think he should be viewed through the lens of a criminal because there's 4 dead bodies in an area where he lived. That doesn't, to me, put him at the crime scene. I have to see evidence that he was there. No different than I would demand, even being an ex-criminal, that you show the evidence that I was there. Conclusive evidence. Not some connection to some fucking gang or some odious thing or some fucking Nazi or white supreme. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear about the frat. I don't want to hear about drug dealers. I don't want to hear about the Banfield. None of that does nothing to further what's the real issue in this case. You can't get to who did it until you can see who didn't do it. And the only person we know who did or didn't do it is Brian Koberger. That's the topic. That's the argument. Not this nonsense of all of these other different fucking theories that people want to combine that have nothing to do with the crime scene or the information given to us. A week ago, we didn't know Bethany knew a naked man. Bethany said someone naked ran away. We didn't know that a week ago. We know it now. We didn't know Dylan's fucking statement was so convoluted and fucked up that you couldn't trust it. We didn't know that. We assumed that. But not knowing it doesn't give you permission to run around and start filling in the fucking blanks to create a picture of something that you can't prove. Because you're doing the same thing the cops did. What is wrong with us? All right, let me kill some of this. Hang on, let me kill that so people's phone numbers don't show. Hang on. Let me kill that. StreamYard. 585-454-9932. Should have that back up and running. Let me bring it up here. Let me reduce this a little. Feel free to call. Let me see that. That to me is where the line, a sensible line needs to be drawn. To come out here every day with these streamers and listen to their salvations of the fucking, they know this, they know that. Someone shows you a video of people being slaughtered. You have no way to accept, or just imagine this. Can you imagine being a cop and there's that video running around the internet that's absolutely true, and you're still going to try to convict Brian Koberger? Doesn't make no damn sense. Even the most criminal cop would take a step back and say, wait a minute. I got to protect myself somehow from that. And maybe the only way to protect yourself from it is to keep lying about Brian. Maybe. But I find it highly suspect. Only thing Trump's killing is the America First agenda. There you go, Gray. Yeah, well, is you or your family part of the America First agenda? Because it would be nice if it eradicated someone like you. Get the hell out of here, bro. Five 454-9932. Go ahead, AR. You want to call in, AR Hayes? Call in. Welcome to the Your Ass Hurts News Network. Sergeant Friday here. What do we got?
Hey, this is AR, bud. How are you?
I'm always doing excellent.
You know, I'm actually a big fan of yours. I listen to you quite a bit, and I'm a big actual agreement with you. I know where I went down the wrong path in my path of doing content. I pulled it.
You're cut
now, so
hang on, you're cutting out. There you go.
okay.
I
agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I listen to you because you're a voice of like realness and reality, and I respect that and I like that. I don't feel right talking about victims' families. I don't feel right about pointing the finger at anybody that I feel as though could have possibly committed the crime. I feel where my voice should be heard is pointing at the justice system and saying, hey, I've been through this shit before. I've been accused. I've been through the lies. I've been through your investigations that aren't complete and aren't correctly done. And I've had to sit in that defendant's chair and listen to you bullshit. And you and I both know that's not right. And that's exactly what Brian Koberger's going through today. And that's what people need to focus on, is this justice system is doing nobody right.
No, they're disserving. They're doing a disservice. And this judge Hippler it doesn't seem any better than the prosecutor that he's supposed to be. His job as a judge is to protect me from government. His job as a judge is to understand the Constitution and make sure the government doesn't step outside of that boundary. That's it. That's what he's judging. He's not judging me or my guilt or my innocence. That's not what a judge is for. And none of these judges seem to even be taught that anymore. You're not there to fucking prove guilt or innocence, you dickhead. You're there to make sure the prosecution isn't breaking the rules. If you don't read me my rights and I just robbed the fucking citizen, you can't convict me, dickhead. That's the rule. Fair enough?
And I'll tell you what, I felt a gut punch when I watched that first day of the hearing on the 23rd of January, and I heard Judge's own words almost spelling as if he believed Brian Koberger is the culprit and guilty of this crime. He spoke about DNA as if Brian Koberger has no privacy rights because he left his DNA at the crime scene. Well, we haven't heard the evidence of how that DNA got to the damn crime scene. So don't even tell me that this judge is going down the path of actually ruling appropriately when he's signaling guilt before all of us.
Well, it's
That's wrong.
And what he's supposed to do, is listen to what they did with their evidence. I accept that you found something on a buckle. I accept that. I'll even accept it's Brian's. I'll accept that. But when you then back manage the case to create probable cause. All the stories about the pings, all the stories about the car are a fucking lie. That makes the DNA circumstantial evidence, and that's it. That's the only piece of evidence that you have, and it's circumstantial in as much as if it were a gun with my fingerprint that I owned in that crime scene, that's circumstantial until you could put me in the crime scene with the gun in my hand. Those circumstances, there's got to be a series of events that explain how the DNA got there, and there is none. And the ones you gave me are lies. That's what Ann's pointing out. It's that simple. And so if you can't build from the DNA an actual series of events that are backed with verification, then you don't have a case against Brian. And the fact that you went around the rules by using the FBI to enter databases they're prohibited from by the user agreement. And because of a user agreement, I, American, as I, Brian Kohlberger, have the expectation of privacy. And whatever you found by breaking that rule becomes fruit from the poison tree. Ann is totally right in her arguments, and this judge isn't listening to it, as far as I can tell. Some of it seems like he is, but, and I want to touch on what I pointed out about you and your wife. I wanted to make an example of people that what you see ain't always true. No matter what you think, no matter what your conclusions are, you could be miles wrong, and it makes sense. But making sense isn't enough to prove anything, right? Just making sense alone don't make it true. And that's what Pavarotti and all these people are doing. What they're setting together, yeah, it makes sense, but it's got nothing to do with the case in front of us.
I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense. You know, and I can't even, I've gotten so upset with it that I can't even listen to it anymore. I've had to completely distance myself from the concepts that a lot of these people speak upon because it doesn't make sense to me. So, and it frustrates me that we're dragging all this extra stuff in, and it's like storytelling, man.
Well, I've had other people want to send me a video of the victims being tortured and killed, and I don't want to see it. And I don't want to see it because A, I can't really confirm, and nor can the person with possession of the video, that it's real. That's the biggest reason. The second reason is I don't need that in my brain if it's not part of this case. And clearly it's not part of the case. So please keep that to yourself. Some things should be better left unsaid. Right? So I
absolutely agree.
I don't know where, I don't disagree. I'm not saying that they don't have Brian Kohlberger's transfer DNA. I'm not saying that at all. I accept that. But even the blood on the rail. This is what irritated me with Hitler. He acknowledges the blood on the rail. The presence of blood itself doesn't mean they were there during the crime. We don't know when it was left there. Well, the same thing applies to the knife sheath, because you haven't proven to anybody that whatever was contained in that sheath is the actual murder weapon, because you don't have a murder weapon. You're making me assume that the murder weapon came out of that sheath, and assuming that isn't enough to me to convict somebody. Show me the wounds in the victims. Show the consistency. Show tests that you took to prove unequivocally it had to be a K-bar that killed these 4 victims. Or that knife sheath means even less and less and less. Right?
I believe that everything that we've heard in regards to Ann Taylor's very distinct words, they did not conduct an investigation, is absolutely true. I mean, they relied on the FBI to go break their own policies and procedures to get this little bit of an IGG call-in tip, and they ran with it, and now they're going to look like fools if the justice system is willing to stand up and actually run itself according to what us as U.S. citizens deserve, which I'm afraid that they probably won't do.
Well, our expectation, the majority of people's expectations has been lowered to the point of ignorance. They think DNA proves the point. He was there. How else could it have got there? Well, that isn't how you make somebody guilty. My fingerprint was on that door hinge. You can't argue that. There's no, the door was removed and someone went and stole the firearms. That's not an argument. That's true. But show it was me. If you can't show it was me, okay, like in that case, I was a maintenance man. I was doing all the painting. All of the painting materials were still there. I was there that day. All of that matters. That needs to be given to the court. They need to know that there's another reason this man's fucking fingerprint might have been there. He was the maintenance man painting the fucking doors and the walls, right? The court has to have all the data. And if the data is favorable to me, and in this case it was, then you don't indict me. Okay? There was no other suspect except me. Fair enough. But I didn't get indicted because my fingerprint likely had a reason to be there, being the maintenance man, being that I'd been there for 4 or 5 days prior, including that day and 4 or 5 days preceding it. I was working there. My fingerprints should be there. And therefore, that's how. And then you look at the Koberger case, his DNA. We don't know why it's there or how it got there. Show me how it got there. That's upon the state to show you that. And what did they do? They told you the story about a car and about phone pings that are all exculpatory to Brian. And I keep, I point out to the audience, the reason they told that story and made up that story was to justify the presence and to prove that that DNA showed up at the time of the crime. Without that story, that DNA is no more powerful than the one on the railing of the glove out back. It does not give you a timeline. It just says, look, here I am. You agree with that, I suspect?
100%.
I'm flabbergasted with these streamers. And look, I don't object to anybody making money. I make a lot of money myself. I think it's a great thing, but I also think that you should have a little integrity, self-respect. I don't want to suggest that Eon Harsh did this or Brent Kopaka did this or some guy with bushy eyebrows named some Muslim name. Who the fuck are we to do that to? Why are we doing that to other people when that's what we're trying to point out they're doing to Koberger? I just can't make heads or tails of it. It makes me insane. Why waste our
And
time?
that's why I had to reel myself in and discipline myself to never speak upon anybody that could have committed the crime because I don't have evidence to point at anybody. All I can do is speak upon what we've learned about the case and what I'm seeing the justice system do upon what we're learning about the case. I can't tell you who committed this crime. I don't feel as though it's Brian Koberger, but I can't tell you who else might be involved. I'm not going to point the finger at anybody, and I'm sure as hell not going to build up a fairy tale story that's going to last for 382 videos so that I can just continuously make money. I mean, I make very little money on YouTube now because I'm not willing to sit down. I'm not healthy enough. I don't feel like sit down and making 3 videos a day talking about the same topic as everybody else. I just don't want to do it.
Well, I want to put this. I don't completely agree with Thomas in his statement. I'm going to put this on the screen. See, I don't think going to a grand jury is archaic. That was created to prevent kings from taking the property and land of others that they falsely accuse. And the point of a grand jury is that you show all relevant evidence. And as Ann keeps telling you, if you're drunk and you think you were dreaming and you can't remember, you are not a witness. That does not reach the level of being a witness. And the description that's in that PCA, now we can rest assured that little Dylan did not say clad in black, okay? Those aren't words. Everybody's been arguing that for 2 years. Well, now you can support that you're feeling that wasn't true. Now we can see with evidence from what Ann's shown us that it's likely untrue that those words came from her mouth and they were something that the person that wrote the PCA put in there, not Dylan, right? This whole case is so fucked up. And this kid could have done it. What's to say he didn't, when his phone went off the air, for whatever reason, what's to say he didn't get into 2011 to 2013 Honda Elantra and get a ride over there? There's nothing that disproves that or proves that, but it's possible. Fair enough?
Yeah.
So I don't, you can show a million ways. How about if he parked his car and jogged? We know he's a runner. Can we exclude him running over there? No, we can't prove it either. And this is what I try to show people is that if you can't prove or disprove something, it's not worth the discussion. If it's not in evidence and it's not being argued in court and it's something like a video of seeing kids killed, that's not relevant. You really need to ignore that, no matter how horrific it is, because you can't prove that it's connected to this case. So why are people talking about that? I'm just sad for America. We're all so fucked up from the floor up. We don't even know how to think anymore. Yeah, who opened those bedroom doors? Were those bedroom doors left open after the commission of the crime, or did the people that visited the house open the doors? Right? That's
another question.
How is it that the policeman can walk down the hallway towards Zana's room and see a body in there? How did Dylan not notice that? Hours earlier. I mean, this woman never went and took a pee 8 hours after drinking. To me, if you want to try to question Dylan and Bethany, I think that's fair game because they admit to their presence at the crime. And therefore, They're legitimate suspects, in my opinion. They're not witnesses. They're suspects. And originally it looked like the police were saying that to us, but they were just telling us what we wanted to hear to shut us up. When that fucking Fry came out and said, well, whoever said they were witnesses. Well, we're not saying they're suspects either, was his comment. It's like, dude, don't tickle my balls. I got my own two hands. Leave me alone. They're either witnesses or suspects. And to me, they should be suspects.
Well, if you and I were the roommates in our rooms and this happened and we didn't call 911 and all of this transpired, you and I would definitely be in house as suspects sitting down there, probably
Instantly.
indicted and waiting on court.
Listen, if any of the frat boys were in that house, it don't even have to be us. Any of the frat boys, the good, clean, well-to-do frat boys were in that house, and that situation was the same. Those guys would have been hauled off to jail. They'd have been stripped. They'd have been swabbed, right?
Yep.
And they didn't do that with these two young girls. And that's the other thing too that bothers me. Two cute white girls get a pass. So now we know if we want to commit a crime, we just have to tell a white girl how to do it, and we're cool. We'll probably get away with it. Because if those were even two blacks or black women, I guarantee you it wouldn't have went down that way. Because there is that racism inside of our system. Not because everyday people like you, me, and others don't suffer from that, but the system does look at us differently based on skin color, based on gender, and it's just sick. There's just no place for that. But that's modern day America, unfortunately. And again, I didn't want to offend you or your wife, but I just wanted to show the listeners there's a million ways to interpret what you're viewing, and unless you can prove it, then it's just that. It's just an opinion. It can't be used in a court of law, and it shouldn't be used to interpret what Brian did because he's got bushy eyebrows, because he drives a white car. That shouldn't be allowed. And yet here we are.
It was just crazy because I just happened to come into your live when you started speaking about that. All I can ask of you, because I do respect you, and I probably came off as rude in your chat, but I was trying to get your attention.
No, you did exactly you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Listen, you helped me make my point. You responded exactly as you should respond. It was offensive and rude. Complete. And this is what I'm trying to tell people. When you start bringing in fucking videos that we don't even know have a clue to this case, it's no different than what I did with you. And it hurts people. It offends people. Not that you can't recover from being offended, but the point is we have no right, even impugning drug dealers as much as we hate them. You can't drag that narrative into this case because what you're doing is not only wasting your time, you're dumbing yourself down. It doesn't help nobody.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So, you survived it. You didn't take your offense and jump off a cliff with it, which is good, which a lot.
Not yet. Not yet. No, and I get your point. Like, listening to you explain it, I get your point. I just, because my wife is a good woman, man. I'm
not saying she is. If she puts up with you, she's got to have some quality because I'd have killed you a long time. I'd have killed you a long time ago.
Yeah. Right. She has some amazing qualities, and she's a person that cares about all, and she gives everybody respect. And I get your point. I definitely get it. And thankfully, she has worked very hard. We don't live in hotels anymore. We definitely have a place to live now.
That's awesome.
I do still venture over and stay in a hotel from time to time because they're nice. I mean, Vegas casino hotels are pretty
right.
nice.
Well, that also had a part to play in what I was interpreting. It's Vegas. It's legal there, and up where I am, it's not. So, not to say, clearly your wife has nothing to do with that. But when I ran with the escorts, and then I actually had a bunch of them working under me, that's what we did, hotel to hotel. Usually we would get 3 days and move on, and then 3 days and move on, and sometimes longer, but sometimes shorter because it depends on what you don't know. When you're living a life of crime, you don't know what event is going to show up or it makes you need to flee. You just, you're living in an uncertain world, right? You don't fucking know.
In my old days, I 100% understand. In today's world of not committing crime, I thankfully am able to stay a little longer and not look over my back.
Heidi's asking me. I don't think I was not necessarily a pimp, But, you know, they need someone to drive them and pick them up. They need somebody to be available if something goes wrong and they hit their panic button and call you. So, you know, I mean, there's more to that than just, you know, like people that work for an agency. Sometimes you're better off with some independent guy that sells drugs and is actually out and about all the time and is willing to shoot somebody. Sometimes you're better off as an escort to have somebody like that, because what's the agency going to do for you? By the time
my first two wives were strippers and escorts here in Vegas, so I get it 100%. The reason why they had me around was I was able to move money quick. I could get IDs. I could do things that they needed, and you know, it was just an easy thing. So,
and more, you know, usually
I hate to say it, I was in that life.
On a first date, I would never move the car out of the driveway, or I would sit out in the street in the car. I mean, so it depends on where you were going. If you were taking them to a private neighborhood, I would never leave them there, and I would never drive off. Like that Gilgo killer. I don't know if you ever saw that case, but I don't know who the fuck she was with. But anybody that drops an escort off to a new house, to a new client in a neighborhood, I don't care if it's $1 billion neighborhood, you don't leave that girl unattended. And the only unattended you get is she's in the house with him without you, but you're right there in case something happens. You hear her scream. And there's a certain, believe it or not, code of ethics, because for one, you don't want to lose that girl or be part of the fucking murder of her, because that's what you would be. You dropped her off there, she got killed, you could be party to that crime. You're fucked. So there's a lot of reasons, stupid reasons you may not even know, but you hang out. Once you got an established client, you don't worry about it anymore. That isn't safe either, because that established client could kill her too. But there's certain things you do. And it's just a different world to be a criminal than it is to be someone trying to live a straight life. It's just way different. When you live, you know, I don't know. But in this case, I just get really, you know, like with Harsh, every opinion matters. And it certainly the fuck doesn't. Not when you got facts to work with. Right?
I agree.
Yeah, that
I'll tell you, and you know, you specify it perfectly, because I'm trying to grow and learn what my mental status is. I lived so long within making bad decisions and then making the excuse of why I committed the crimes and all this. And now I'm literally battling the compulsion to continue to lie or commit crimes to try to do the right thing. And it's a learning curve. And, you know, as I've even worked through the IL4, I realized the cliff I was falling off in my content. And I'm like, I just can't keep going down this road. This just isn't right, you know. And I've had conversations behind the scenes, like Steve Gonzalez and his wife Christy. I can't really say a bad thing about them anymore, because when they found out I was ill and I was struggling, they sent me an email directly wishing me and my wife well. Nothing about the case, nothing ill-willed. They knew I had put out some content that was, you know, raising some issues towards them, and they showed love. They were like, look, man, I just, you know, I hope you get healthy. Here's a little bit of, you know, some recommendations of what you can talk to a doctor about. And that hit me, and I was like, holy cow. Well, you know, here I am being critical of these people, and they're being loving back to me.
I was pretty much, I'd say to some point, Mike, listen, all I can say is what I know is, of all the players in the game, only one person was in the house with him, and only one person left the house. That does not mean this woman's guilty of anything, but those are facts. Okay. Those are the only facts that, if you were going to discuss anybody having anything to do with him being missing, those facts need to be extrapolated on with evidence to show her involvement. The simple fact of being there and the simple fact of going to look for him, you can interpret that in any way you want, but all you know is what you've been told. She didn't hear him leave. She put him to bed. She woke up, he was gone. And then she went and drove around to look for him, and she called Chris. That can be interpreted in a guilty point of view. It can be interpreted at the face value that it's given to you. But that doesn't give you permission to attack the woman and start accusing her of a crime like you're going to get her to fucking crack, and then start talking all this shit about him and Chris and bringing up all this past stuff. That's why I bring my past up. Why do people even associate with me? I do millions of dollars in business. Why do people do that? If I'm such a bad fucking person, was I a bad person? The worst. The worst. And I had no business being that way. There's nothing that gives anybody, I don't give a fuck what your parents did to you. I use that as an excuse and it's wrong. And there's, right? And so that maybe that's probably why I see things the way I see things, because of the way I lived. And I just think that, look, if Brian did it, I just want to see the proof. I'm not defending Brian. I got no horse in this race. I don't know that he's innocent. But I would like to see my law enforcement treat an American under the law of what's written for the government to not do. You're not supposed to lie. You're not supposed to cheat. You're not supposed to do that when you arrest somebody, even if you know he committed the crime. You follow the rules and you win some and you lose some. And that's just the way the game goes. And you know, there are innocent people in jail, and there's a lot of guilty people that were never convicted. I'm one of them. But that's just the way it goes. But to have cops lie to get a conclusion, that's a crime. This person's supposed to be an example of upholding the law. I don't even like when I see a cop going down the road speeding. You have no business speeding. You are the guy that enforces the law. You should be an obeyer of the law above all of us. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. Right?
I agree.
A fucking fireman doesn't start a grill in the house, does he? Does he fire his barbecue grill up in his house? No. Why? Because he knows better. And I expect him not to do that. Go ahead.
How do you feel with the possibility of a Frank's hearing coming here soon?
I think she deserves that. Brian Koberger is owed a Frank's hearing. These police knew, and I said this in the beginning, there's no evidence that phone was turned off. You can't, that's your fucking opinion. And then the bottom line is all of those things that they claim in that map are unprovable locations that are done through guesses. And guesses are not enough to indict somebody. And yet they were able to pull it off. I think, there's no way the cops did not know that the 12 previous trips placed him everywhere except that house. They had to have known that. There's no way they couldn't have, because they were given the data from AT&T, but they decided to interpret that without interpreting it. They suggested he was stalking them, knowing fucking damn well that proved he wasn't stalking them, and they made the inference anyway and created a story to support the DNA find. I've always viewed, that's what brought me into true crime. I was in politics for years, and I got sick of politics. I came over here, I ran into Dago on this case, and I said from day one, the whole PCA is exculpatory. There isn't one fact written in that document. And I understand a policeman can have an opinion of stuff, but he better support that opinion, or again, it's just an opinion. And their opinion that Brian did all that driving is a damn right lie, because they had the data to show it was a lie. So I think, and I think the FBI going into forbidden databases where users expect privacy because they're told in their user agreement it won't be shared with law enforcement without a warrant. I think entering those databases to come up with Brian's name is a severe violation of his constitutional rights. They couldn't have identified him, AR, unless they went into those prohibited databases. Do you know that?
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
And what gives the FBI the right to avoid a user? You know what they do? They hand the work off to a contractor who does it. That way the government can try to remain blameless. It's like when they all this military spending, they turn the project over to Lockheed rather than being a government project. Once it goes into the hand of a contractor, you can't FOIA the data. You have no right to get the data from the contractor. And that's why our government plays these games with outside contractors, with non-governmental organizations, NGOs, not-for-profits, corporations. You do business with Elon. Elon is doing all the stuff the government asked him to do, but as far as how he gets to where he got and what he did and what he didn't do, you're not privy to that because he's a private company. So I'm sick of our government doing all these backdoor fucking deals. I'm just burnt out on it. Trump hopefully will fix that. Looks like that's what he's going to do. And so hoorah. I'm all on board for that. Someone made a mistake. Go ahead.
We need change, that's for sure, because the direction we've been going isn't a good one.
I'm not okay with them fucking charging him with 94 crimes. I'm specifically offended that the state of New York expanded the statute of limitations on alleged crimes against him. They were alleged. That happened way beyond the statute of limitations, and they went and passed a law to expand it in this case only. What the fuck are my government representatives doing how does that help me? This guy did something according to some woman or according to some fucking business transaction long before the statute of limitations have been dead for a decade. You're going to now extend them just to cover him? Man, I want to punch somebody in the face. The bottom line is if he did it, it doesn't matter. The statute of limitations ran out. Fair enough? And yet here they are in New York State telling us he's a felon because they went and changed the law for 24 hours. I'm just sickened by what our government's been doing.
Well, let's hope now that we got a new face in office now. So let's hope some stuff changes.
And he is changing it. There's no question about it. I think Pam Bondi is going to do a lot of good for us. I think that Pete Hesjeg will do a lot of good for us. I'm hoping. I'm suspicious of Kash Patel, but we'll see what he does. He should, if he's what he claims to be, then he should do. They just need to bring this back to the constitutional republic that it is. You guys have rules to follow because we gave them to you. You didn't give me the right to carry a gun, and you did not give me the right to free speech. No, sir. We told you that in order to exist, these rights must be protected, and you cannot cross them. Right? Like I just got fucking blocked on Twitter for telling somebody to go cut off their cock. Now, that's not a crime. That's not a threat. I just said, assholes like you that are independent, you need to go cut off your cock. I'm not telling him to go hurt himself. I'm just saying I'm suggesting it. But it's legal to do that. It's not legal to go get your dick cut off. Then how is my statement on the internet a violation of terms? You can legally go get your dick cut off and become a girl, right?
From what I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not one that's looked into it.
No, but I'm just saying it is a viable scientific, it's a medical procedure that you can go. So if I'm telling you to go cut your dick off, I'm not telling you to go harm yourself. I'm offering you up a medical solution to your fucking mental facilities. I don't mind that they block
Sure,
me.
though.
I
mean, we're allowed to share our opinions with people.
They said it was I was promoting violence. I was cutting off your dick violence if you can go to a hospital and get it done. You can't have it both ways. Fair enough.
I agree.
Right? It's like me telling you, leave me alone, go get a headache. I'm not threatening violence. Headaches are real.
Yes, they definitely are. They definitely are. Well, my man, I'm gonna let you go for tonight. I appreciate you allowing me to step up.
All right,
and
very good.
converse with me, and I appreciate your opinions. I appreciate your thoughts, and definitely taking the time.
I had a malfunction of StreamYard. Yeah, it's a true story. You can remove that from your body. And so therefore me suggesting you do that isn't a threat of violence. I'm not going to do it. Show you the crime and I'll show you the man. That's true. You're not playing the same field. Jay is seeing where they are going things legally. Jay Ombre isn't saying anything that wasn't obvious to people that paid attention from the beginning. Everything I'm saying now is and I said this a long time ago. In the preliminary hearing, Ann would have destroyed this case, but they went around Ann and got the indictment. And I said that this is all going to come out. There's no way she can't contest all of this stuff. And the points they were making 2 years ago are exactly the points she's making in court now. It's not that hard to decipher when you look at what's been put forward. Just read the PCA. PCA is loaded with garbage, and anybody wants to tell you it don't matter. It's just a nut job. Take the story out. Take the story out. And DNA is no more strength than a fingerprint. DNA is no more strength than a blood stain. It's at the crime scene. Okay. Now show me how it got there. Right? He's saying the same thing. But he's also adding a whole bunch of other shit to it. 3 people on this road, they're all known criminals that Brian drove by, and I've seen some of his stuff, and it's just, these people got problems of their own as criminals, current or ex-criminals. They got enough problems in life already, yet AR has connected them to this crime, showing where they live or about where they live and where Brian's car drove and the proximity of his car to that house. And it's like, what the fuck, man? For what? To what end does that whole story got to be? And he brings up their background. He shows you their court cases. Fuck that Pavarotti douchebag. The facts are what matter. Find another case. Grant Clarkson. What did Heidi say? Heidi said, welcome time. There, see that? That's a moderator doing a moderator job. Hide current context. Yeah, I'm just, it's perplexing. We need to hold each other to a little bit higher standards and keep ourselves on track. And then you'll find a lot of time. And what do you do with the time? Instead of filling it in with videos of potential crime and all of that, find other issues around the country that can be addressed that are criminal. Yeah, but that doesn't make it right, Norma. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the insanity part of it right there. He was looking for everyone who could have been involved. That's just insane. I don't understand how people don't realize how crazy that is. You're not solving that crime with your cell phone and a fucking computer. So why do it? Why are you going to impugn all of these people like that? He tells you right in the beginning, this is just for entertainment. This is just, what he's doing is just for clicks. And a lot of good people are dragged into it and they'll stand up and defend the guy. But in all fairness, how does that help the victim? You're not doing anything to help the victim. As a matter of fact, you're harming the victims and the survivors and the victims' families and friends, of which some of these people that he's pointing out could have been friends with these people. You don't know. So just, I don't get it. I mean, if we treated science like that, the way these streamers are treating this case, we would never have an automobile. We'd still be walking. And you'd have all of these freaks out there with 18,000 different ways you could create a car. And everybody's going to argue about them. And for what? The woulda, coulda, shouldas are just such a waste of time. And it's almost insulting to the humanity of it all. These poor people are gone, viciously gone. And the idea that that's a green light to go investigate and decide who could have been involved, that's just perverted, man. I save my perversions for sexual encounters. I don't blow them up on the internet with fucking ideas and dreams and conspiracy theories of who could have done it. That's just, if you don't have a fact to support someone's involvement, you need to leave it alone. What did nothing half-ass say? So you had Henry Kissinger teaching you, huh? Henry Kissinger was a pretty cunning son of a gun. He was a very slippery too. He's watching it here when Anton doesn't agree with it. I'm not saying he's not coming to that statement either, but he came on early on to show Brian was guilty. Now he's showing Brian is innocent. Now he's showing all these potential people that could have done it. To what end is that? Where do you find value in that? How many different fucking scenarios has he painted of who could have done this? For what? I don't know. I mean, come on. I don't understand how people could get caught up in such idiocy. That's ignorance at its finest. It isn't. That's what I'm saying. 95% of the channels. What a waste of brain power. What a waste of talent amongst all these people. No direction. Just, it's just insane. I wouldn't, if any of your children were one of the victims, you would lose your mind listening to somebody like Pavarotti. All these different possible fucking people involved, and it's just crazy. That's not human instinct. It's because we've been trained to be ignorant. It's ignorance. That's not human instinct. It literally is ignorance. It's a trained ignorance. We've been trained not to focus on the facts. We've been trained to let our minds wander. We've been trained to create all these different scenarios that may or may not, most likely, more often than not, have nothing to do with nothing. I mean, it's rather sad, and I'll tell you, I'm glad it's not anybody I love or anybody in my family that was a part of that crime scene. I don't want to hear about people pissing on someone's fucking face. I don't want to hear about possible Aryan connections, drug connections, this connection. I don't want to hear it. Right now, the only thing that these parents have, yeah, I agree with it. Yeah, but they so many people have flipped because they believe something. They're not flipping because of what really matters. And they never should have flipped anyway. Nobody should have been able to be flipped, Linda. Nobody should have been able to be flipped. You're innocent. Stop. Innocent until proven. That's all that's important, is what's proven. You're always innocent, right? And no, it's the entire social media complex of 5.63 billion fucking morons. And I'm just trying to point out to the few that come in here that you don't need to be part of that moronic team. Prove. He has to be. Brian Kohlberger has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. He is innocent. Not because I think that, not because I believe that, but that's because how our justice system was designed. And that's not, yeah, look, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if that's human instinct. That's more human training. We've been trained to do things like that. I mean, a lot of people will tell you, I stuck with Dylan Millicent's story because that was the only data we had. And I wasn't going to speculate what cop did or didn't do to her statement because there was no evidence to prove it. Now there's evidence. Now there's new room for discussion. But all these discussions have been going on for 2 years. And some of them people are probably patting themselves on the back. I knew I was right. Well, no, you didn't know you were right. You have to wait for the stuff to sometimes like putting together a puzzle. And you don't know when you only got so many pieces of the puzzle. I know, Ruth. I know. But I am responding to what's being said in the chat room, Ruth. Yeah. And I am berating these people that are doing that. And if you're part of that, I'm berating you too. Yeah. And I am doing that. I'm going to continue to do that. Because it's off the fucking wall. How many theories are out here? Who did this? Yeah, you have to go with what information you're given, Norma. You can't just start second guessing and dreaming up your own interpretation of it. If somebody says the light was red, the light was red. And until evidence comes forward to show that that's inaccurate, then the light is red. You weren't there to witness it, Norma. That's to deal with knowledge and information. You have to accept what's given to you at face value and not put your belief or your opinion or your feelings up against it. You take it at face value and you move on to the next thing. And as time goes on, you collect more and more information. I'm telling you, there was nobody out there except me saying when the story from Bethany's direct friend came out onto the internet and said she saw someone run away naked, I was the only one in the group of a lot of people that said we need to keep track of that. It's so outrageous and so contradictory to what they're telling us. Dylan said that piece of information should never be forgotten. But that piece of information being given by a friend of Bethany's couldn't be a basis to form a theory because we couldn't prove it. Now we understand that that's what she saw. Now you have a discussion. I mean, the discussion before proof is just insane. I am to some extent, but on the other extent, no, I think it's rather revealing to point out to people, and a lot of times you got to show things over and over again. I mean, that's the whole basis of the way people seem to catch things. I mean, everybody knows McDonald's, but if McDonald's doesn't advertise all the time, then McDonald's customer base drops. So, no, I unblocked you there, William Tardy. You also texted me with something you never sent me, William Tardy. Here. Oh, that's a YouTube one. Let me see here. Copy. Paste. Yep. So what else is happening in the world? A lot of good political stuff is happening. A lot of chaotic stuff. It's causing many people to lose their eyes and their ears and their nose and their mouth. And it's just crazy. And a lot of people are celebrating. And there's got to be some kind of middle road in there, but God only knows. People aren't gonna spend the time to find a middle road. Why do that? Yeah, I like the people with sources. You know, I mean, and that what's her name there? Jennifer Cumdumpster, the FBI agent. I mean, they see everything through the eyes of guilt. And they can weave and manipulate the data in front of them and explain it to you to show guilt. But if you really look at what they're saying, there's no evidence of guilt there at all. It's their opinion. And their opinion is no better than anybody else's opinion. It's equal. It's just an opinion. And as the evidence comes out contradicting your opinion, then a real person that knows how to think will accept the contradiction and then reanalyze what they think. I mean, thinking's really fun. It's easy. It's not that it's the one thing that you should do. That's why you got a brain. Yeah, and listen, again, this is not, I mean, I can't believe how many times I got to say it. It's not our job to determine innocent or guilt. Our job is to look at the evidence and weigh it, whether it proves guilt or not. And the bottom line is, if there isn't enough proof for guilt, and the bottom line is, if the information given doesn't add up, if the information given is a lie, well, that matters more than anything else. But that still doesn't establish innocence or guilt. We're nowhere near the innocence or guilt stage of this case. We've all preemptively decided innocent or guilt, and that's it's just not the way you should look at a legal case. Koberger not having any risk management skills when deciding. I don't know. That's quite a wicked knife. That's quite a wicked knife. I don't know what risk management skills. One thrust of that knife into someone's gut, you'll disembowel somebody instantly with that knife. So, you know, the knife itself, I think, shows risk management skills, if in fact Koberger went into that home. Right, Grant? I mean, you could look at it from that point of view, too. Yeah. This is probably the most intense, insane case that's gotten more views, more popularity. It's made people more money than probably any single case previous to this, and probably the history of YouTube. Right. Well, we've seen the exact opposite of evidence. Everything the police have proposed has turned out to be false. And that's why Ann said, I don't even know how we can, if everything they've done is false up to this point, how can we even believe the DNA? Ann's making that's a solid question. I'm not going to dive into the DNA question. I'm very suspicious of it, but I'll take it at face value. That's Brian Koberger's DNA. Why do I accept it at face value? Because that's the only evidence I've seen, the only statements I've seen, the only arguments I've seen is that that's his. Okay, until someone can show that it's not his, then you have to kind of reluctantly accept that and look at it as that being on the knife sheath. That's what I mean about data. That's all the data you have. You could be suspect of it, you could disagree with it, but you have to take it for what it is. And then you come to some understanding. If somewhere throughout the process of this case were shown that there was a huge statistical error in the analysis of the IgG work, if you could show, then it wasn't Brian's DNA, and you have to accept that. Yeah, I agree, Linda. We're paying for condoms. What is it, $50 million for condoms in Gaza? Are these people insane? And you're right, they're going to use them for bombs. Somehow they use the comment. I don't know. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know what a condom bomb is, okay? I've had condoms break through sex. So I don't even want to know what kind of a bomb you're going to put in a condom. It makes my dick hurt just talking about it. Leave my condoms out of your fucking bombs, please. I don't want to know anything about condom bombs. That's just a bridge too far. We wear the condom to prevent pregnancy. That's enough fear. I don't need to know nothing about a condom bomb. I say, keep that shit to yourself, Gaza. Right? There's enough shit in this world to worry about. Let's not add condom bombs to it. Like, good God. When I heard that, I was just like, oh no, here we go. Now they've manipulated. Now, where are the dildo bombs? To me, a dildo bomb makes more sense than a condom bomb. But, you know, again, what do I know? I'm not a bomber. But, you know, I think part of the main reason for a bomb is shrapnel. It's rarely the explosion that kills people. It's the shrapnel. And I don't know what condoms provide for shrapnel. They're just elastic or whatever they're made out of. But, you know, a dildo, there's a lot of plastic parts. There's electric motors in there. There's batteries in there. I mean, a condom would throw some debris your way. Or not, I mean, a dildo. Man mortally wounded by dildo. I don't want to hear man mortally wounded by condom. Hell no. Oh, no, I don't want to hear that at all. Jesus Christ. What a fucking world we live in, right? Who came up with creating condom bombs? We need to have a discussion with that motherfucker. Someone needs to find that person and bring him in here. What even gave you why not use a balloon and leave the condoms out of it? You know, I don't know. I can't answer questions that shouldn't even be asked. That's a question nobody should have to entertain in all the history of mankind. That's just one question that should never be present in all of humanity. How do you make a condom bomb? That's insanity. I don't even know what to say to that. It goes beyond the pale. My brother died. What happened? His condom exploded. His condom exploded. Holy shit. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about condom bombs, and if anybody does, please do not share them in here. We'll all be better for it. What in the fuck world? What's happened to this world? Instead of coming together on common ground on the internet, everything has got to be some drama-laden conspiracy fucking theory that divides people, and you're going to argue over innocent or guilt. Meanwhile, the proof doesn't seem to get anybody's attention. It does some people, but discussing the proof isn't worthwhile, apparently. Ignoring the proof or taking the proof and manipulating it into some fucking grub truck fucking video is what matters. Whatever happened to the statement said Brian, I never heard that statement. I never heard that. Brian broke into a lab and stole stuff to build a bomb. I never heard that. Anybody ever hear that before? I mean, that's like a whole new conspiracy theory. Listen, I wonder if that Hadron Collider is actually changing our timeline. Right? Maybe that's what happened, Yvonne. I don't remember law enforcement. Does anybody ever remember law enforcement saying Brian built a bomb? And it was according to Howard Blum. Yeah, there's a guy you need to put all your trust in. No need to think anymore, folks. Howard Blum is here. He'll do it for you. He'll give you the exact words and phrases you need to repeat to appear like you know something. That's just a stupid rumor. Law enforcement never said that. Norma, where do you come up with this stuff? That's what I mean. All of this crazy shit gets incorporated into the story, and it's fucking ridiculous. And DT came out with it. Got in. I don't know what that means, Linda. DT. Who's DT? I don't know who DT is. Donald Trump? I don't know. I mean, well, the rubber meets the road in the bottom of the tire. I don't know where condoms and the rubber meets the road comes together there, Thomas. Good try, though. It definitely was a good time. All right, Norman, now you know that that's fake. What else you got? Come on, let's hear somebody's grand conspiracy theories about the Idaho 4. It was on News Nation also. It's just insane. It's just insane. They got all these crazy fucking arguments. They never charged them for that. There's no, I don't even know, man. Can you imagine if that was true and they never charged them with that? That's the other thing. Sometimes things are said and they sound perfectly reasonable. But in hindsight, as time passes, and I don't know. Maybe right. Maybe these birds don't have the flu. Maybe they're just drunk. Maybe somebody poured antifreeze in their water or something. Or they poured Jim Beam in there or some other kind of fucking Russian vodka. You could blame Russia for the dead chickens. Yep, that's a good one. He lined his car with a shower curtain. Yeah, almost all arguments are based on ignorance. And ignorance there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. I'm ignorant in a lot of things myself. Ignorance is imminently curable. It's stupid that you got to watch out for, because even duct tape can't fix stupid. I think we've all heard that before. Yeah, there's no sense in arguing down that he did it. It's plain as the nose on our faces, right? That Brian Koberger didn't break into a lab to build a bomb. Oh my God. Well, Norma, that was nice. I don't know if you were doing that to be funny, or heard that from Drunk Turkey. Yeah, that wouldn't be a far-fetched place to hear it, because he's got all these conspiracies. And here's a guy that can watch the same video you're watching and realize that Bethany and Dylan have said things that are just outrageous, that do everything but impugn Koberger, and he either ignores them or explains them away, right? That poor shower curtain caught a lot of hell. And it never asked for it. It was created to block water from hitting your floor. This poor shower curtain has been fucking... It's a good thing it can't feel outrage. I don't know who said that. I don't want to know. We're better off not knowing. It is fucking crazy. All right, folks, it's been a long ass stream, 3 hours and 30 minutes. He's riding in. The tunnels. How about the guy with the parachute? How about Dot? How about that stupid girl Dot? How about WSU Kim? All these fucking people. I mean, people that think it's okay to talk about all these potential fucking doers, forget all of these potential fucking twits that came in here making all of these arguments, from fucking shower curtains to fucking text messages to standing on a fucking balcony. The next thing you know, she's smoking fucking pot down there with Bethany and fucking the black dude and that white girl. I can't remember their names. What the fuck? And then nobody catches the story changing except me. The fucking parachute. That's incredible. The tunnels, the parachute, the guy jumped from a tree limb. The tree limb is barely big enough to hold a fucking squirrel. If a squirrel and an owl landed on that tree limb, it would break. Unfucking believable. But according to TikTok, Drip Drop, crime fucking jerk off circus, somebody balanced on that fucking 1 inch around branch and jumped onto the deck, and then climbed in through a fucking window full of things in the window that girls put in their windows. Talk to you, Thomas. Thanks for coming in. And was able to get into the house, close the window, not knock anything off the window sill, and then replace the blinds in the correct position of closed. And entered the room and stabbed these girls. They must have fucking opened the window for him, held the blind out of his way, let him in, put everything back on the fucking windowsill that he knocked off, and then got in bed and laid down and waited for him to stab him. You fucking jerk off crime circus, you fucking twit. What a brain. And that's a, holy Christ, that's a good example of just how fucked up the internet is. Yep. Fucking tunnels under the house, people pissing on faces, fucking sounds and videos of fucking people being slaughtered. Anyway, where did the guy go that was supposed to email me something there that I unblocked? I'm looking at my email. Nothing. I got spam. He's not in my spam box. I got social. Nothing in here of any import. And I got promotions. Yeah. I wonder, did I win the New York lottery? I spent $2 on the lottery today. I should win that lottery. That lottery should be mine. A couple $1,000,000 would be fine. It's absolutely fucking amazing. Thomas, where did the guy go to ask me to unblock him? And then he went to check what he sent me. Oh, maybe he sent me something on the phone. Hang on. Oh, wait, it would be on this. It would be here. I would see it. Hang on a second. No, I sent him an email and he didn't respond to it. I'm going to have to delete all them phone numbers on there. Okay. It's pronounced Howard Bloom. Yeah, he's a fucking twit, that guy. I can't right now. There he is. Well, tell me the topic of what you were going to send. That's true, Linda. Oh, you're at work. All right, well, type in quick what the topic was. Kim said in the very beginning that her daughter told her that both girls were on the bottom floor, and later it did come out that there were. Yeah, I don't think anything in the PCH states that they weren't. It just says that Dylan went to sleep in her bedroom on the second floor, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Blum, like plum. It's Bloom, right? Howard Bloom. He's a fucking twit. How about the other guy that found the glove by the garbage cans? I'm willing to bet dimes to donuts that fucking glove was his. And he did it just for the attention. So he can make a stream and then maybe add it to a book he's going to write or something. Right? Found a glove between two garbage cans. Yeah, there you go. Possible, I guess. We do know the PCA is 1,000% bullshit. Yeah, even more so than that, right? All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. What is this, 12:30 here? I got to go to another dental appointment tomorrow for my deep cleaning, finish that. Then a few days later, I got to get 4 cavities filled. And then we're like half done with the dental work. That's it, Chris Madonna with the fucking glove. We'll call him fucking Papa Glove, like Papa Smurf. It was great being in here. You guys are awesome. And I lost all my not my contacts, but I lost all my strength over at, what do you call it there? Oh, look at that, Rumble. There's a bunch of you in here. But I lost all my strength over at the twit, at the Y. Bloom. You guys all stay out of trouble. We'll talk with you again. Your Ass Hurts News Network live from Beijing, China, on top of Cock Tower with Lick of My Balls Convention Center. It's the most fucked up from the floor upstream, but it's a hoot. And we'll see you all again another night. Take care.